All right. All right. Welcome to San Miguel TV. We are live once again. I'm San Miguel. And again, we got Negi Springfield. And we have Killah, the Witchfinder General, once again. What's up, guys? Talk to me.
What's up?
What's
What's
going
up,
on?
man? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Are we really live or
We're live,
right?
man.
Good. I didn't see it. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. We're
All
27
right, this
seconds
popping.
right now. And I hear you loud and clear. We don't have a topic on what we're going to talk about, but we're just going to go into whatever, I mean, there's a few things going on. Of course, we like to talk about current events, and just different things. I mean, for you guys that don't know, I've had these two brothers on before. They're former members of Hebrew Israelite cults, pretty much. I mean, I don't know if you guys want to get into your history again. We kind of already did that. If you want to briefly touch on it, I guess.
yeah. I can do that. I was in a group called Torah Knights, and so was Killah B. Killah B was in it before I was, and then I just kind of I got in there over time after developing a rapport with Judah Nazareth.
Right.
The guy that was the head of the group supposedly.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of just became part of it because I impressed him with my knowledge of the Bible and other things. So, soon I became a visible member of the group. And it was a waste of 5 years, in my opinion.
Yeah, I try to look at it on the positive side. See, me, I was 7 years in the ICGJC, and I could look at it as a waste because I wasted a lot of money and time. But
I mean, I did do some good. I did some good for people because I was educating them about stuff. But ever since leaving, I've been doing the same thing, only better.
Yeah.
So.
But then you can use that as a learning experience.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So KB, what's good, brother?
Yeah, man. So the people that don't know me, I was in the Hebrew Israelite cult for like 22 years, and
Wow.
now I've been out for about 3 years now, and I plan on going 22 more years, so whipping on their ass. So
Nice. Yeah, that's when I see the title of your channel. It says, when what your channel's about, it says kicking like Hebrew Israelite ass or some shit. No, you said in society. See, that's similar. See, my channel is on the same. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if people that watch my channel start getting your channel suggested because we're pretty much like what I saw that you're touching on. I was already on that with the Killah B. I'm sorry, with the Israelite stuff. But your channel, the Witchfinder General's channel, is pretty much touching on stuff that affects society, and society at large. But
it's not only just the cult stuff. Yeah, we dabble a little bit.
Yeah, I saw you talking about Kevin James. Was that his name? Frank James. Frank
James. I kept messing up his name too. I was calling him James Frank. All types of stuff.
Yeah, you got a first name for a last name.
Yeah, right.
And the last name
James, Frank James. I think it's Frank James though. I think that's his name, Frank James.
Yeah. That Frank James dude, man. What I found interesting about that is that when ABC News put out the description and the report on this guy, I don't know if you guys saw this, but how the police commissioner is Keyshawn Soul from Queensbridge. I like her. She's pretty good. She's on point. After this happened, she's out in the street right there. There's actually a precinct as soon as you come out of the subway right there. That area of Brooklyn is like the Sunset Park area, and then as soon as you leave that stop, there's literally a precinct where they held him at, where they literally put him at right outside of that. This guy was reported. Was the description that was given by the police commissioner, Keyshawn Soul, was that he's a male, black, 5'5", which the height was off, overweight. Which sometimes they do that. It's a tense, because people are saying this is funny. It said he was 5'5". In those crazy situations, sometimes people they're not gonna catch every detail perfectly. So especially a big dude, sometimes they can seem a little, shorter because they're wide. I don't know.
Right.
but you might be sitting down, in the subway. Maybe you caught him standing up. He looked, or the opposite. I don't know.
Well, here's my thoughts on it. I think they just want the person to flip out and go, "There ain't no way I'm 5'5". I'm 6'4". I'm 6'4". So they'll be like, "There ain't no way I'm 5'4".
People are saying he called the cops on himself to try to get the reward money.
That's it. That's the funny thing. That's what I'm saying. They're hoping the person will call in and be like, "Yo, I'm not that guy. I'm this dude."
Right. Like, yeah, I just want to get this clear. I'm actually. I mean, he's actually 6 feet tall.
Yeah. He's a giant. He's a beast. Watch out for that dude.
Yeah.
Hey, what's your name, sir? Frank James.
I mean James Frank.
James Frank.
John Jacob.
Oh shit, yo!
But that's crazy. Like what people are doing now.
I'm trying to get the report of when ABC put his description out. They didn't put what the police commissioner said. They didn't put his race. The suspect is at large, right? And they didn't put his race as a description. Have you ever seen this before? It happened during the Austin 6th Street shooting. There was a mass shooting where it was some young black kids. It was like 17, 19 years old. It was 3 kids involved. But it was one shooter. And he shot like 14 people.
And they didn't put the race up. That's crazy.
They didn't put the race. I'm trying to get the photo up so I could just share
Probably scared.
They're scared. I mean, the reasoning given from the Austin Statesman website or paper was that it's a vague description, which it wasn't. They said they not only did they give the skin color, they gave the hair style. It was dreads. They gave the slim build. They gave all of that. So if you have black slim build dreads, that's a pretty narrow. That's not vague. But I pulled up them describing white people, and they won't put anything else but it was a white male, and then they'll describe articles of clothing that have nothing to do with the physical description. Is that not vague? So they'll do it when it's a white person, but when it's a black person, and then it says, I mean, the Austin Statesman literally said, we don't want to perpetuate negative stereotypes, so we're not giving the description of the shooter, which was at large. They're still trying to find him, and
they really told us what he was without saying it, because we don't want to make those stereotypes. So,
but they didn't put in dreads. They didn't put in slim build. They didn't put anything. Not even that he was black. Like that's what ABC did it slicker with Frank James. They put that he was 5'5". They put that he was overweight, but they didn't put that he was black. And it's like, why are they doing this? I sent this to a friend.
Scared. Lawsuits and stuff. Niggas go crazy.
I sent that to a former Hebrew Israelite, former ICGJC member, who's a Muslim now. I sent it to him, and I was like, don't you think that this is weird that they're not showing the race and the suspect is at large? So is that a little strange? And he's like, but they don't do that. And you know what he said to me? They don't do that all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I know they don't do that all the time, but they never do that when it's a white person. They're only doing that because he's black, is what I'm getting from that. Can I prove that? I mean,
but back in the day, they were like, yeah, black man, such and such height, that weighed this much, wearing a brown coat.
There's nothing wrong with that. But because of the fact that they're hearing the word black, they assume that it's something racist because, oh, you're saying black though. Like he's the same dude that like I posted, something happened to me recently at a Wawa at an air pump. I'm waiting next to get air after this woman. And I see this car, a young black dudes just come in and just they're ready to cut me, bro. Like they didn't even park. They literally stopped like right next to the pump, still in the road, pretty much, or not the road, but like the driveway around the gas station. Yep. I'm literally parked waiting next. And I see the guy get out of the car and stand right outside of the car like he's ready to take the shit. And I wave at him. I'm like, yo, I'm next. And he just looked down, bro. He shaked his head and looked down. I see him go after, the lady finishes and she puts the thing back. This guy goes and grabs it. I was like, yo, what are you doing? I told you I'm next. I've been sitting here. You guys see me. I saw you pull up. This guy wanted to fight me, bro.
Yeah.
He wanted to fight me. And I'm like, what's going on? I posted that on Facebook. And I said,
don't make the black kids angry.
I posted the whole story, but I said to him, I said, yo, I pretty much snatched the shit, the fucking air pump, not from his hands, but from the pump, you know, because it's like a long thing. So I snatched it from there. I pulled it.
Yeah.
He didn't see it coming as he was kneeling down. I pulled it and I was like, fuck that shit. I'm next. Like, I'm not taking, I don't give a fuck what you do. I'm not fighting. I'm not ready to fight. I'm just taking my shit, my turn. This guy around and wanted to fight. And he comes and tries to stand over me and intimidate me and say that he's gonna knock me out. And I was like, bro, if you hit me, you're gonna be the next black man in jail. I told him. Yep. My boy said, yo, why you had to say the same Muslim guy? He's like, why you have to say that? Why you have to say you black? You have to say black, right? And I'm like, why do you not want to hear that word, black? Like, just hearing that word makes people think there's this racism behind it. And it's like, there's a lot of black people in jail. So I told him he will be the next black person in jail. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a fact that there's a lot
simple as that.
That's why BLM is all mad, because there's a big population of black people in the prison system. So that's what people say that it's not their fault and it's because of racism, when it's not. It's because a lot of times,
you know what it is? Is when they challenge.
I'll give it to you. It's because when there's a dispute, they want to resolve it with violence. That's all I wanted to say. Go ahead, KB.
Yeah, I lost my thought that quick.
My bad.
I would say that it's like they're embarrassed because you call them on something that they're doing wrong, and they know they're doing wrong, and they don't care, and they mad that you challenged them on it. And they don't say, I don't care, I'll fuck you up.
They could, like, I wasn't being rude when I told him, like, yo, I'm next. I was just trying to let him know, like, I'm here and I see him. I see what he's doing.
Yeah.
I'm not stupid. I'm sitting in the car waiting. He gets out of the car and that doesn't even park, bro. He's literally like where you're not supposed to park at, you know? In front of the pump. Because the pump, like, you can park and pump the air. I'm waiting for.
Ain't gonna get something to grab, and then gonna have somebody grab the thing as the other person pull it off. So he holding the pump. That's balls right there. That's
what
balls.
I was gonna do is park in the spot where the woman is pumping the gas at, and when she leaves, you know,
I would have ran over his feet.
I'm doing that, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna just grab it and take this shit real quick." It's like, yo, just park, just wait. What's the problem? Why you feel you have privilege over me? Because they like to talk about white privilege all the time. There's some fucking black privilege out there too, man. And this shit don't get called out. It's expected. It's like, well, you have to give them the, you know, this and give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't know, man. I'm talking too much, but yeah, I mean, you know, I wanted to get into that, you know, like, because like this dude, man. Speaking about Muslims, though, I wanted to get into, because this Muslim friend of mine also had a problem with my Asian hate video. So now we had a shooting in DC of a dude that was Muslim and Asian.
Yep.
Right?
They need to leave Asian people alone.
Yeah.
I somebody always trying to fuck with some Asian people. They're always trying to do something to them.
I mean, do Asians sometimes do shootings like this?
Yep. That's why they feed y'all niggas pigeons.
Right. I mean, listen, they be in the park, damn, walking around the park with their hands behind their back, with their arms behind their back, playing chess or something. You know, feeding pigeons. Like, they're very non-confrontational people overall. They got their Asian gangs out there. There's Asian.
Nah, I didn't say feeding pigeons. I say feeding niggas pigeons.
Oh,
that's what I said.
Here's
why do you think they feed the pigeons?
Yeah, right.
Here's the absolutely funny thing is that I don't know if you're talking about the guy that I was telling you about, but he wasn't a Muslim. He was a Catholic.
Oh wait, no, the Yaqub. I'm talking about the guy that was following.
Yeah, he was a. Oh yeah, he was like
the Virginia Tech guy was a Catholic.
No, I guess I got confused. I was thinking of someone else, but the guy that did the shooting may have had ties to the Nation of Islam. That's it. Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
the guy that did the shooting in DC, right? Like by the
in
Capitol.
in DC. It
Right.
may have had some kind of tie to them. But then again, with cults, you never know because it's like
Imagine that
really,
though.
it's like really weird how
Brother,
that
we
works
can
out.
use you in the nation. We can use a brother like you in the nation.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we're Asiatics too. We're both Asiatics.
Right.
Yep.
Asiatics. Yeah. You know what? Well, I mean, when because they say Hebrew Israelites are Afro-Asiatic. So, because I always try to tell people like, yo, y'all say Moab and Ammon are the Asians. Like I always try to tell Hebrew Israelites. They say Moab and Ammon are the Asians. Is that a Torah Nights thing?
No, Torah Knight said that the Moab. I never believed that shit though. For the record, I ain't never believed that shit. I was on the Moab and Amab, Chinese, Japanese shit. But he said that the Moabites was the Syrians or some shit.
Okay.
Yeah, the motherfuckers that I ran. One of the motherfuckers and shit. Right. I think it was the Syrians. He said, "You remember that, Negi?"
I never really cared about that kind of stuff. There were things that I just kind of kept my head out of.
Oh yeah.
and what's weird is I absorbed a lot of this stuff, or made it look like I was just absorbing it and taking bits here and there. And
yeah.
Whatnot.
Negi was like, "Hey, I wasn't trying to listen to all these niggas."
Like there was some stuff that was, of course, off script, but
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's crazy that whole Moab. They said Moab's the Chinese because they was born with an extra chromosome, and that that's what they taught us. That's what they taught us and stuff. They born with an extra chromosome.
That's gonna be a future video of mine because I got a little bit of sound bites from Hebrew Israelites being racist against Asian people.
Oh
but
yeah,
I was gonna add it to my Asian hate video, but there was just so much of it that I couldn't add.
There is one classic clip from GMS where I think I mentioned this before, but the guy was preaching out on the street, one of the GMS guys, and an ambulance goes by, and he's pissed off because the sound is drowning out his preaching. So finally, when the ambulance is gone, he's like, "Someone better be dying, choking on a chicken bone in a gook restaurant."
That's funny as hell, man.
Oh.
But yeah, I remember that because that was on Judah shared it on his Facebook back when he had a Facebook, or back when I had a Facebook.
See, that's Satan. They would say that's Satan trying to stop the truth.
Yeah,
Satan. Exactly. Yeah.
That's Satan trying to the truth. You hear the fire trucks and stuff.
Yeah, and
I bet a lot of those firemen and ambulance drivers used to turn that siren on purpose when they pass by.
Someone better be dying.
Probably is what it is because they know they're out there like every week.
I mean,
why wouldn't they?
You know how that was out in New York City? That GMS video?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was.
I don't know where it is, but I just remember that video because it cracked me up because the guy was so ticked off at the sound of the ambulance. Like he was mad. He was mad.
Oh, know who he talking about? You know the dude that was in GMS? Like he was so hard, yo. They kicked him out of GMS.
Rakah?
I think. Wait, not Rakah, the biker, not the biker dude. Oh, not hell. But it's another dude. His name was General Rahar Carr.
I know who you're talking.
He was crazy. He tried to beat up the old black lady. He said, "I can't wait to strangle a bitch like you. I can't wait. The Most High come back and we strangle a bitch like you. I can't wait to strangle all you black boys."
I gotta be honest with you, man. That sounds like my spirit animal. I can't help it.
No, there was one guy that they were trying to go at Marksman and KOC, the Rebel Alliance Media, when they were former ICGJC members. They started going at GMS after they went at ICGJC. So there was a dude that said, I can't wait till the Lord comes because I'm going to kill your ass. He's like, we're going to stick plungers in your ass, he said.
Yeah.
He said that in the streets to like Marksman and KOC.
Yep.
I was like, yo, these guys are insane. Like
Tahar said if you go to when Satan gets you, he gonna put you in a he said he gonna poke you with a hot poke you in your ass with a hot poker. I got a video. I think it's the confessions video that I got on my channel, and I started off like that. As this shit, stick a hot poker in your ass and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Remember when Tahar said that shit? He said that shit too. He said, "Oh, Satan, like you be wicked when Satan gets you, he gonna poke you in your ass with a hot poker, a hot iron or some shit." Yup.
There's so
The
many
motherfuckers is crazy.
sound bites of them just saying insane, crazy shit. But this
Especially
guy,
Tahar.
this shooter though, from DC. Just to get back to this guy, because you guys said that I mean, what's his name? Let me see if I could get
Playing, man. You notice they all talk like Tahar, all his members.
Yeah. I was once gonna do a parody video where I tried to do a Tahar version. You know, like I'd be like, coming back at you with this truth.
Yeah, man. You know, Negi Springfield might be a Jake. Negi Springfield might be a Jake. You know what I'm saying? He was in the scriptures to say he was with Judah Nazareth, gay ass. But he was in the scriptures. He said, the Most High said, oh, what's the scripture? They said that, the sheep knows his master or something. He said,
the sheep hear my voice. Yeah,
you never know, man. Say Israel's a speckled bird, right? Israel's a speckled bird, huh? Yup.
Israel's
a speckled bird, huh?
Crazy.
You can see all over my forehead, I got speckles.
Yup. Yeah, man.
That's stupid as hell. When they talk about that speckled bird thing, though, that scripture's not even talking about color at all. It's not talking about it because of the color. It's just saying saying a beautiful bird with different spotted. You know, it looks like it's like a spotted bird with a bunch of colors. Compared to the birds, if you read the whole scripture, the whole chapter, it talks about the birds of prey that surround them, which are the other nations that are ugly. Birds of prey are ugly black birds, like dark, that eat, the vultures, like they don't look beautiful, like all colorful. So that's all it's talking about. But they try to make it seem like it's talking about a specific color, and it's talking about being brown and black. Like what? They have different colors. Speckled bird could be white, some parts white too. Like what?
Yeah. They don't mean that tortilla skin looking thing. We got the Mexicans with the tortilla looking,
He said tortilla. Oh shit.
You guys are gonna have to bear with me. I'm doing the good old Hebrew Israelite tradition of, you see right here. I got the trying to get it in camera because I'm there. I got the good stuff. Hebrew Israelite thing right after Sabbath, the bottles come out. It's time for
that's what it was. Did they do that at ICJC? After the Sabbath class, everybody get drunk.
Oh hell yeah, we would do that all the time.
Yep, we used to do that at IUIC.
We kind of.
Soon as Shaki blow the trumpet, soon as he blow the horn, before he could bring the horn down to go put it away, the bottles is on the deck.
Yeah, we used to get twisted, man. I wanted to. Can you see the screen though, man? I don't know if I'm sharing it right.
No, no, you're not.
You can't see.
Nope.
You can't see the screen right now.
Nope, just our three things.
Oh, okay. Damn, yeah, something's going on with my joint. See? Can you hear that? That's not good.
I hear that.
That's not good. Cancel.
Is that a fat beat? I'm dropping the fat one.
That's why I hate going live, man. I was like, I ain't going live no more, man. Like I try to share my screen, and then
are you on your phone?
Nah, I'm on my computer.
Yeah, you should be able to share the screen. Yeah.
Always does this. It did it last time. Same thing, and it won't even. I can't even copy and paste. Nothing. I can't type. It's just like it starts going crazy. Let me see if I can share my entire screen. Let's see, I don't know. Window, Chrome, StreamYard. Yeah, maybe that's the problem. Let me see. Yeah, now see, I can't even copy and paste. What I'm trying to do is get that story up of the shooter in DC, because there's a photo of him with Yakub, the two-headed scientist. There's a photo of his room.
Yeah, the big-headed scientist.
Yeah, the big-headed scientist.
Yakub, the big-headed scientist. He made the white man from the dog, the rat, and the cat.
He made that's it. You now it all makes sense. You can see. Look, see how it
No,
all.
that was the pig. He made the pig from the dog, the rat, and the cat. They said a pig is part dog, part rat, and part cat. That's what a pig is. Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's what they said.
And the
Yep,
white
they believe
man,
that.
the white man came
And
from
the white
monkey.
man came from a what was it? The brown germ, the black germ, and the white germ, or something. And then the man was so wicked, like he became wicked. So Yakub made the white man and stuff to punish the black man for being wicked.
Yeah. You got to
Then
say it
after
right.
5,000 years, they're gonna lock the white man back up.
Yeah.
So that's
The
fucked
idiot.
up. They created him to fuck motherfuckers up. Then they want to get rid of his ass when they done with him.
And just so people know, just for context, the Asiatic black man is the good guy, and
It is the maker, the owner.
Yeah.
The
devil.
cream of the planet Earth. Was the cream of the crop? Cream of the planet Earth or some shit?
And right here, you're looking at the devil. You're looking at the devil right here.
Y'all see here, y'all looking at the devil right here.
So the devil's gonna get turned out or whatever it is,
Yep.
And get like
white man, the devil. Yeah, the Nation of Islam is crazy as hell, yo. That people believe that Yakub shit.
And what's so weird is that 5%er thing turns it on its head because they're like, oh, he can be redeemed.
But then Islam is crazy on its own.
Yeah.
Right.
They believe that the testament of two men or two women are equal to one man. So there's a movie that they made called, it's very low budget, but it's called The Stoning of Soraya M., which is a true story of a woman that was stoned to death by her whole town, and her husband and her kids were there too to do the stoning because her husband wanted to divorce her, and he didn't want to be with her no more, but he couldn't divorce her legally. So he said that she committed adultery, and the penalty for that is death, but she couldn't get any other witness to back her up because there isn't. What other witness can you get to prove that? So they ended up stoning her because his testimony is worth more than her testimony. And it was all like just a lie. It came out later. But and then it also says that in the Quran, it says that Muhammad flew to the moon on a winged horse.
No, he flew to Jerusalem and the temple, the temple in Jerusalem on a winged horse.
Didn't he split the moon in half?
I never read that, but what I did read was crazy enough. He said he went to the temple in Jerusalem, prayed next to some famous prophets, and then after that he got back on the horse and he went back and told everyone about his little My Little Pony adventure. My Little Prophethood is magic. So that was
My Little Pony.
That's what he was doing. Yeah, My Little
Unbelievable.
Pony. And Muslims don't even ask questions when it comes to this stuff. Like, they don't ask
Y'all
why.
Still here? Y'all hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, but no one asks questions about this. It's so bizarre because, like when he was receiving revelations, he would like be rolling on the floor and his eyes would be rolling in the back of his head. And,
right.
And
I mean, this is why you don't join a religion unless you know everything about it. It's like I can't be convinced of everything a religion teaches until I see everything that they teach. I hear everything that they teach. But once you come in and maybe like I was impressed by Romans chapter 9, how Esau, is hated by God. So I learned that first, and I knew that Christians didn't know that scripture. Like I knew that Christians don't be pulling those types of scriptures. So I could throw them off, by pulling that on a Christian and saying, well, what you got to say about this? And I got no answer, they
freeze up
answer it properly. So I knew I had that, but when they would start asking me other things, I couldn't. I had to say that, I'll get back to you, and let me go get the answer, even if it's not the right answer. It's like I didn't know it yet, but I had to wait and say, I don't care what you say. I'm gonna wait to see what the teacher has to say or what this brother who's an Israelite has to say, and then I'll have the answer.
And that's why I made that video on Islam. I wanted to educate people, but also, you know,
Yeah,
the other thing that really destroyed it was the fact that he was being creepy around little girls. I mean,
yeah. What does it say about him? That when he first met Aisha, she was still playing with dolls.
yeah, and plus he was watching her friends, like he was sitting there like this, you know.
When do young girls stop playing with dolls? What, 7, 8, 9? That's sick. That's sick.
And all them niggas up in the mosque believe that shit. They want to be just like them. They want to be just like them. All of them up in the mosque want to be just like them too. Yeah, but sit there and lie to everybody.
Can y'all see the screen now?
Yeah, now we see it. Yep.
Yeah. All right. This is the Yaku, a Filipino, who was a shooter here on. This is yesterday. 3 adults. Well, the report was done yesterday. 3 adults, 1 girl shot in U.S. capital city near university. Suspects found dead in an apartment. So yeah, sometimes Asians shoot things up, you know. But this Asian was influenced by some black consciousness type shit, right? What is this?
I wonder what were the people that he shot? You know what the people that he shot were?
Ethnically, like.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen that. We could find out though. Can y'all see this? This is the photos they took of his guns.
Damn.
And then you see a photo of what appears to be Yaku.
Where did he get the money? Because those guns aren't cheap. Those guns are not cheap. Like, where did he get the money?
Yeah, he was probably getting some kind of money from some, you know, whatever, you know, whatever.
He's in college and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's some hardware right there.
Yeah.
He's doing some stuff there. He's gonna do some damage.
Yeah, yo, that boy got guns.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you sit there picking on the Asian kids. See, that'd be waiting for you.
That's right, man.
Yeah. Don't
you cut off the Asian kid at the pump.
It's a common
cut him off at the pump. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. That's a common thing, man. It's like, man. I mean, but there's like. This is not where you should go. We're not saying that it's okay just because they're being bullied, but this shit, man, you don't know what you drive a person to do. You know, you start pushing them too far. And it's like, man, my daughter was telling me today, out of nowhere, she's like, my Asian friend, she's always just picked on. And people call her, you know, types of stuff because she's Asian. I seen that growing up. That's the thing.
Yeah.
From all races, Hispanics, white people, black people, close from everybody. Yeah. That it's been happening a lot lately, man. Like I did a video on that Asian hate video, man. It's like I found so much footage. It's like there's like endless. That's why I need to do a part 2 and go into this whole how Hebrew Israelites look at Asians. They pretty much look at them like as if they're just chromosome, you know, less than we are, pretty much. Like they're not looked at as like a normal human being, pretty much.
Yep. They said because they were made from incest. Because when Moab had sex with their father and stuff. And they created Moab, so it was incest. So they said when you have incest, that the kids will be retarded. That's what they said. So that's why they said where Moab come from.
That doesn't happen with incest though. So that's where not only is the whole, you know, breakdown incorrect. The people that came out of Moab and Ammon are not the Japanese and Chinese. They were already Japanese. They were already Asians living during the time of when this supposedly happened with Moab and when they were born.
Right.
These people are all Middle Eastern people, man. They just spoke like certain different languages. They didn't know what was going on in the world outside of the Middle East, outside of Israel when they wrote those books. That's why in the dietary law, they didn't mention anything about kangaroos and wallabies and any animals that you'll find in Australia. And it also doesn't mention anything like penguins and polar bears because they don't have those animals in the Middle East. Where's that in the dietary law? But I don't know, just to throw that out there. But yeah, this whole story here, it's just you know, it's a little weird. It's a little interesting though that we have this Asian dude who seems to be. I mean, did they say that he went to Howard University School of Law? Like this guy was like
He went to
Asian.
Howard?
I don't know if it said. Let me
No,
see.
I don't think he went to Howard.
It says, according to a message sent by the Metropolitan Police Department's Twitter account, officers responded to the 4100 block of Connecticut Avenue Northwest, the address of the Edmund Burke School, and 2900 block of Van Ness Street, the address of Howard. Okay, so that's where they responded to. At 3:30 p.m. Friday for the report of at least 2 shooting victims, which later increased to 4 victims. The victims were on the street when they were shot and all appeared to have been shot at random. Victims were hospitalized in stable condition, according to police, who explained 2 adults are in critical condition while the juvenile is in non-life-threatening condition. So the minor was 12, and it was 2 adult females. So yeah, this is a crazy story here, man. Like, I want to get more into this guy's history here. This is interesting. You know, he was part of what is this, 5% of stuff? Nation of Islam. It's like a combination of all of that.
Yep. Damn.
What was Frank James, man? That dude's he was on some
He was just hot. Yeah, he was on some cult stuff. But like it was like he wasn't part of no cult, I don't think, but he got a lot of cult doctrine. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, like how people not leave the cult but not leave the cult doctrine.
Right.
He's like one of those people, those drifters that like never join nothing,
right,
but catch like little doctrines from here and there from different little like groups and stuff like that. And he just believe what he want to believe.
Right.
Until you make it go crazy.
He wasn't.
He couldn't stand niggas though, boy. He sounded like on my videos. I was just like, damn, this dude sounded a lot like me. In some videos, I was just like, damn. I was like, shit. I was just talking about that the other day. What he just said. I was saying the same thing.
Yeah,
like, damn, it was scary.
I didn't exactly want to think he sounded like Killah B, but yeah, I didn't really want to think that.
I mean,
but he did.
Some of these people, they're not wrong in everything that they believe. It's just that they get driven to a certain point, you know. So it's like you know, I could feel him on certain things. I even said that. I was like, I could see,
like, I'm tired of these niggas.
I could see myself getting some entertainment from the channel for sure. Like the guy was funny as hell.
Yeah,
he was really funny.
Like you said, yo, you could see yourself sitting chilling with him, drinking some Night Train or some shit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
MD 2020.
Yeah, Mad Dog 2020. That's what it was. Mad Dog 2020.
You know, he had a shirt in one of the videos that said, I survived 2020. And then he had like a bunch of MD 2020 bottles. You know? He said, I forgot what he said, but it was like, I already survived MD 2020. I could survive 2020. Some shit like that. So I'm laughing, yo. I was laughing when I saw that.
Yo, that would be an ill t-shirt, yo. That would be an ill t-shirt.
I want that shirt.
Yo,
I want that shirt. That shirt was so dope. You know, that dude inspired me.
That's all 2020.
Yeah, but no, I mean, bro, he didn't kill anybody. What's that about? Was he?
Yeah, he didn't kill nobody.
Nobody.
So he might not even go to jail, yo.
Nah,
because he crazy. He already crazy.
You mean?
So, you know, crazy people don't be going to jail and stuff. You know what I mean?
But he sounds like he's fed up. But he was on some like things are getting really bad, and it's like, yeah, it kind of is. But look at what he did. It's like,
yeah, his medication or whatever probably wasn't working. And he bugged out.
That was on
yep.
That, you know,
you might get away with that shit.
There's a lot of mental health issues, you know, and it's like that's definitely partly to blame, but there's already an ideology in there. It's like that message could push you or not already, but there could be an ideology that gets mixed in with you just being unstable already, and it's like drives you to hate. You know, some people thought that maybe that was targeted at Asians because that part of Sunset Park, there's a lot of Asians there. So people were thinking that there's not a lot of black people in that area. If you look at all the people that were coming out of the train cart, they were either Asian or white, or I forgot what other ethnicity. Like you could look
probably was a Jewish neighborhood too.
Jewish, that's what it was. It was Jewish and it's like a Jewish. It was a lot of Jewish and Asian. That's what it was. Sunset Park. That's right. That's where they'd be at. But you know, that's a story that I covered before they found the guy. You know, I didn't even really catch. Like, I wanted to post it regardless if you know, the guy's race.
You ever looked at
Dude,
Colin Ferguson?
who's that?
Look that up real quick.
Colin Ferguson. Let's see.
Yep.
I hope my shit don't be true.
That was another subway shooting back in the 80s, 83. Yeah.
You know, who's that? Who's that?
He was a subway shooter in New York City, just like this dude.
In 83.
Yep. Colin Ferguson. That was a big case. That was a real big case back in the day.
Yeah,
Colin Ferguson.
I wasn't living in. I was born in 84, so. I
was born in 75. So like, yeah, I remember that shit. I was probably like fourth grade or something when that happened.
I remember
fifth grade.
I remember the one where it was like self-defense. It was like an older white guy that was being bothered by some young kid.
Oh, you talking about with the screwdriver. The kids tried to rob him with a screwdriver. He shot the shit out of all their asses.
And the guardian angels there were backing him up, and it was like a divide in the city between black people and white people. Them.
What was the name of that dude?
I don't know his name, but I could see.
Not Reginald Denny. No. Reginald Denny was something else.
Yeah, I can't. Let's see. Yeah, I can't find this Colin Ferguson character.
Oh, what was his name, man? I forgot his name. Like, some people said he was a hero. He was a hero.
Yeah, it was him. Yeah, because the Guardian Angels, you know who they are. They're very pro-gun. They're Republican. One of them was running. The guy that was talking. He's running. He ran for mayor. This current mayoral.
I did a video on that. I think I did a video on it.
You did?
Yeah. I actually know like a real guardian angel.
Okay, yeah, they're good people, man. I mean, listen, when this whole Asian hate thing, I added it to my video. I mean, this is still happening, but when it was at its like peak in New York City, after like an Asian woman got pushed and died, like she hit her head and she ended up dying. There was a few of those actually, but the one that happened in like Manhattan or something. One Asian was talking about how she joined the Guardian Angels. She's like, I want to show not only Asians but women that, you know, we don't have to be afraid out here. Like, yo, these people ain't playing no more, man.
They would hang out. They would sit in the subway cars and protect people.
Yeah, man.
Somebody getting robbed or something, they'll go intervene.
The subway is like how it was in the 80s, is from what I'm hearing. I remember coming in. I mean, I was born in 84, and I remember being like really young, and I remember the 80s. 80s are different than the 90s in New York. New York City got cleaned up, and things were getting better. Like it got worse. I think it peaked its height of criminality in 1993, and ever since then, it's been dropping. But then all of a sudden, in the last 3 years, even before COVID, this shit's been spiking up every year to where last year, Philly, Columbus, Ohio, Seattle, Rochester, New York, New Orleans, Louisiana, and a bunch of other damn cities that are mostly Democratic, they broke the homicide record, the most homicides ever, 12 cities last year. People are not talking about this stuff, you know? But
back in the 90s when we used to skateboard in New York City, some of those subways we had to get off, you had to run. Like, you get off the subway, you had to run. The moment you get off the subway to where you was going, because somebody be waiting to take your board from you.
You ever been AKB?
Or your bike.
You ever been to East New York, Brownsville area?
Yeah. No, I never been to Brooklyn like that. I've been to Brooklyn like a few times.
It's still like
that art school.
That's one part of Brooklyn that's never changed. Brooklyn has definitely come up over the years.
Yeah.
Williamsburg and all, even downtown Brooklyn is dope. But yo, Brownsville never changed, bro. That's that type of spot. Like, you come out and you hit the corner store after you get out the train, and you got a 12-year-old trying to sell you weed. That's the type of I remember that. I remember that happening to me.
Yep. That's back in the day.
Yeah.
Probably still like that. Where they had Mother Gaston in the Brooklyn. I mean, there Mother Gaston, Bushwick Avenue.
Yeah, there's so many different fucking paths of destruction out here. Not just the religion, but this gang shit, man. Negi, you were talking about that a lot, man. You seem to know a good amount of history and I really I wanted to get
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
Negi talk like he did 20 years in the federal prison and shit. But Negi be talking about
yeah, yeah. Where do you want to start with that? I can start anywhere.
me.
I forgot what we were talking about one time. I think we were talking about something in California, man. Of course, I don't even know, man. You know about Little Yummy, who was killed by gang members in Milwaukee and Chicago? And Tupac spoke out about Little Yummy. You ever heard of Little Yummy?
I've never heard of that, but I know about some of the Chicago gangs, up there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get back. KB, I want to definitely touch on that Colin Ferguson dude, but my
Yep.
I'm telling you, I cannot share my shit. It's not letting me share it.
All right.
I don't know. It's in and out. It's so weird. But and so Little Yummy is this kid. He was like 11 years old, man, and he was killed by his fellow gang members because he was too hot. He already had like a bunch of bodies at 11 years old, man, and
what was the gang, by the way?
To the Gangster Disciples, the ones that have the Shield of David, I believe.
Oh yeah. Now I think I've heard of it. I definitely have.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I heard Lil Yummy before.
I'm not great with all these gangs. I just remember when I would wear my Shield of David. I had a few times where dudes would come up to me and ask me, "What do I rep?" And I'm like, I know what that means. I'm like, I always said I don't rep anything. Man.
Yeah. What they probably thought is they probably thought you were in. There was actually a Hispanic branch of the Gangster Disciples. It was called the Spanish Gangster Disciples, and they did the same thing as the main organization. They were like a Latino branch of it, but they were all under the Folks thing.
Well, when I first moved out here to Central Florida from New York City, I met these two Spanish dudes from up in Boston and in New York City, and they were both Latin Kings, and they were really Latin Kings. Like they showed me some Bible that they would have, like that. The whole setup of a Latin King is very cult-like because not only does it have the religious element, now you got a Bible, you got rosaries. They also change their name when they become a king. You change your name. Now I'm King this. I'm King Taz. There's a bunch of these motherfuckers.
Yeah. So there's a dude that became famous on YouTube. His name is King Shine, and he ended up going to prison not too long ago, but he got out. So it's just so weird because that lifestyle only leads to things like that.
I think they did a little.
It's crazy. I used to hang out with a bunch of them out here, like Latin Kings. That's what Puerto Ricans was down with. What was it, Latin Kings, and what they call it, Nietas, and they had some other.
Gang.
Yeah,
the Nietas are Puerto Ricans.
About the Dominicans.
Yeah, but Latin Kings was like that. That was the top. Like Latin Kings was the top. They was running shit.
What about the Dominicans don't play DDP?
Yeah. That's really crazy because those guys they're the Trinitarios. That's it.
Trinitarios. They killed that young junior.
Yeah, that was fucked up, man.
Yeah, they stabbed the guy who ran into a little store and they just stabbed him to death.
Yeah, those bitch ass, man. I posted a video on that. I mean, not on YouTube. I posted a bunch of videos on Instagram. I was getting crazy views, man.
They should have indicted the whole gang because of that.
Yo, fuck them niggas, man.
They should have had the whole gang locked up.
I don't give a fuck.
The whole gang.
Yo, that's why I call out this shit that's in our neighborhood and our shit that's affecting us. Because I always get somebody in the fucking comment section talking about, why you always got to talk about what black people are doing? You always talk about white people.
That's what they do to me.
That shit don't largely affect us like that. Because usually 94% of the time, when it's a black person that dies or is a murder, it's done by another black person. So why you gonna be mad at the fucking times when it's 5%? Like the dude that got mad that I didn't post when an Asian woman killed. It was a murder of a 15-year-old black girl that was walking away after the store owner thought that she was gonna get, she was trying to steal something. That whole story. And then
I remember that. I remember that.
That was part of why the LA riots happened. It's not just because Rodney King. It was that on top of Rodney King and the verdicts. Because the verdict for Rodney King, which is what always happens with cops.
Rodney King was crazy. That Rodney King riot shit.
I remember
that shit happened. I was like middle school when that shit happened.
I remember that. I was young. I didn't understand what was going on. But you remember the truck driver that was like, I don't know.
I'm about to say that. Yep, they pulled the truck driver, hit him with a cinder block and everything. Like they wasn't playing.
That shit is crazy right there. And he wanted me to point out why the LA riots happened. That because this dude, the same Muslim cat that I was telling you about, he was like, why didn't you put that story in the beginning of your Asian hate video? Because I put the LA riots. He's like, you didn't put why it happened. And I was like, well, that's not what the video is about. It's not about why it happened. And then that's going to give people the excuse to say, well, okay, I understand why they rioted because that happened. It's like, that's not an excuse. You're targeting random people that had nothing to do with the shooting that probably agree with you just because of their race. They just targeted Asian stores. Oh, we're going to target other Koreans. What if Koreans start targeting black businesses for all the damn Asian hate that's going on where they're killing black people all over the place? Like, come on, man. Like that shit don't happen the other way around. That's what pisses me off about this. That's why I call out these dumbass riots. Be rioting for Jacob Blake. Like, this guy's a damn sexual damn predator, man. You know, like fighting cops and running away, and people riot for dumb shit, bro. But this shit happens. Like, this Asian dude, bro, that shot this shit up is like, these motherfuckers will shoot shit up. But it's like, that's not the common thing that happens. There's a common problem. Look what happened with Junior and the whole hood over dumb shit over a girl or something. And it was the wrong kid.
It was a lie. It wasn't even him.
It was the wrong kid.
She lied. She lied because she didn't want to get the real dude in trouble. So she said it was that dude.
Right, exactly.
And he had nothing to do with it. Nothing. He didn't know nothing about it.
I never liked Latin Kings because I noticed that the people that would join these gangs or the people that would talk about them being in the gang was always some damn punk, some herb that you know, they'll try to get a whole bunch of people on you because they don't want to fight. So it's like any little problems that happen,
that's real shit right there.
They'll be waiting after school with 80 people in the corner. I had Corona Queens. There's tons of Latin Kings, bro. You know, if you see Newtown, if you know the area of Newtown High School and Corona Avenue and all that shit, there's nothing but Dominicans, Colombians. You know, it's like full of, and you know, Dominicans are all in New York City. It's the most populated. It's the highest like nationality of people. It's the Dominicans and it's the West Indian. There's more Dominicans than anything else. Dominicans are all over New York City. They love to fucking join these fucking gangs because, you know, I mean, they do this in jail for protection. But these motherfuckers that did it in the street, like my boys was trying to tell me, like, yo, you should be a king, bro. You know, you gotta have somebody like recruit you or whatever. And then my boy was like, yo, I'll recruit you and you could be under me and I gotta do this whole fucking it's like a whole ritual they do to get you like into the shit. But it's like, what do you do after that? And he's like, I don't know. You don't do nothing.
And you gotta pay dues. You gotta pay dues too. Oh, so you gotta pay dues every week. So they get money from you and everything. It's like a real cult.
Yeah.
The kings I used to hang with, like we would go down, like, you know, say through the hood and stuff where all the Puerto Ricans at, right? Literally every block, they yelling out my window. Like, you know what I'm saying? Throwing up the gang sign and stuff. They gotta greet every single king that they see. Like every king that ever crossed their path, anywhere they at, they gotta salute them. So it's just like the Hebrew Israelites. Like every you see, yo, what up? How about how they say right? And you go to class and stuff, there be 30 motherfuckers. You be like, to every dude. Like,
yeah, I mean, there was an order in the ICGJC that whenever the apostles walk by, no matter what you're doing, if they walk by you, you gotta stop and just smite your chest and just stop. If you're, especially in the street, like we would do this. Whenever Tazadakia walked by, everybody stops and stands still. So we could give him his respect. And it's like, it's a salute. But we didn't have to do that for nobody but the apostles, because we also did it for Arya and Sharp.
Wow.
That was crazy. It's like, you stop everything that you're doing. You could be in the middle of, I don't even know, you name it. And, you know, you're just waiting outside online, you know, for the Sabbath to start, for instance. And once you see an apostle walking in, you gotta stop and automatically smite your chest. And like people will always look at us, bro. Like it's this whole, I don't know.
Yep. Somebody should have tripped that nigga while he walking by. You ever heard of the book Don't Make the Black Kids Angry?
Yeah, I heard of that. Never read it.
It's a dude, I think his name is Colin Flaherty. I think that's his name.
Oh, is that what you were mentioning him?
Yeah, like I did a video not too long ago about a black dude that was in the library. When I was in the library, he was just wilding out, like cussing and just talking like he outside in the street and shit, like in the library. It was crazy. And
Right.
like I used his book, the dude's book, for the thumbnail of the video.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
but he shows like articles on black people like killing white people and stuff. Like how he's showing like how much it goes on. And
Yeah.
it'll be like real fucked up stories too.
It
You
happened.
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. There's a dude. You ever heard of Darius Sessions? And he killed a little kid named Nick. Damn, no, his name's not Nick. I forget his name. But yeah, I did a video on it. So I mean, if you look up Darius Sessions, he'll come up. It's Sessions with an M at the end. Like it sounds like Sessions, but if you look that up, you'll see he's a grown ass dude, black dude, that shot a 5-year-old kid like in the head. Straight killed him. It's his neighbor's kid. This happened in like North Carolina, I believe.
Wow.
Oh, the kid's name is Cannon Hinton or something like that. Cannon Hinton.
What about the little black kid that got shot by the Asian dude in what was that, like Missouri or Milwaukee or something like that?
What was that about? I don't know. I never heard that.
Yeah, it was a little kid. His name was Cody, and he was riding his bike by the Asian dude house, and the dude told them, like, I guess they were like playing, and they would like leave their bikes like in the driveway and in front of his house or like on his like walkway or something like that, right? And he told them not to do it, and they went and did it again. And I guess they talked some shit to him or something. And he shot through the window. He shot through his living room window at the kids, and he hit the little boy in the arm.
Yeah, man.
Like they shot little Cody and the little kid. They got it on video too. They're like, they shot little Cody. They shot little Cody. They're like, this is running. It was crazy.
How old
he
was
was
that?
like, ow. Yup.
You know how
Cody
old
something. He was young. The little boy was like probably like 7 years old, probably. Man, like it was a little kid, like a little kid.
I posted the story before on my Instagram, at least on San Miguel _ is my Instagram. If y'all want to get on there, I think I posted the story before. But I don't think they had the shooter yet at the time. But yeah, man.
No, they got the dude. He was a neighbor, and they locked him up and they let him out on like $5,000 bond.
Wow.
And then all the people complained. It was like the whole town was complaining about it, so they locked him back up. Like I think
when that happened.
That was about a year ago. It was right after the thing with the girl with the knife. Remember the girl that tried to stab the girl and the cop shot her? That was in St. Louis or something.
Yeah, that was in Ohio and Akron.
You know what I'm talking about?
Ma'Khia Bryant. Ma'Khia Bryant. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
All right, I hear you now.
You talking about Ma'Khia Bryant?
Yeah. It happened right after that. It happened like a few weeks after that.
No, I don't remember that. I wish I could share my screen. Like I don't know what's going on, but definitely I'm gonna look into that joint.
Yeah. All I do is remember his name was Cody. The little boy name was Cody. And I forgot what state it was in. It was like Washington. It was somewhere out in the Midwest or something.
6-year-old boy shot by angry Asian neighbor in Michigan.
Michigan, that's where it happened?
June 2021. Yeah, that sounds right about the time. Because the Ma'Khia Bryant happened April, right around this time. I remember it was on my birthday. It was April 22nd of 2021. So it was like just a year ago. I believe it was a year ago, right? Not 2 years ago.
Yeah, like a year ago.
Yeah. That story was a little crazy too, because like the way like they reacted to that, the way especially the reaction was a little crazy. Like that was the same day that Derek Chauvin got sentenced 22 years, for the murder.
That was the same day?
The same day, bro. All of
that.
Wow. Bryant, because LeBron James posted on Twitter the day the right after the sentence, like it was like at 12, I believe, in the afternoon. I don't even know. Yeah. He says, I'm great. I'm happy that this happened, but I'm thirsty for more justice. And then the shooting happens, and this guy posts the cop's face on his Twitter and says, "You're next."
Yep, I remember that. I remember that.
He said,
They should.
"You're next," and I'm like, he just saved the black girl's life. I get it.
Yep.
Like,
They should take everything from him. They should take everything from his ass.
bro,
His sneakers, everything.
yeah, man, yo, he's the same dude. Man, I don't know if you remember this story. We're getting into a lot of different shit, but just to get into some LeBron stuff, because I think LeBron is either really stupid or really smart. I don't know what it is. Either he's doing this on purpose or he's just not aware of how dumb he is. Because this guy also called out the old Houston Rockets coach. Forgot what year this was, but the Houston Rockets coach posted something on Twitter in solidarity in support of Asian protesters protesting against the government and the communist, evil oppressive government. That's the real evil oppressive government in China. And he's in support of them. Damn, LeBron James comes out and says, this guy didn't know what he was doing. He could have hurt people financially by supporting the Asian protesters that are protesting against the government, because the NBA and China are very closely tied in. If people don't know, Nike, all of that shit. They fucking they love the NBA, Yao Ming, forget it. So their money, this is why, because that guy, listen, if LeBron James is for protesting and for human justice and for human rights, he should be also doing the same thing that the Houston Rockets coach did. But it shows you he really doesn't care about humans. He cares about black humans. He only cares about, because Ma'Khia Bryant, not even, because Ma'Khia Bryant was just about to stab another black person. But it's like, it doesn't make sense. Something is weird. Something is off there. So he said this coach, this Houston Rockets coach, could have hurt people financially, spiritually, physically. I'm like, yo, is that a threat? The Houston Rockets coach deleted the tweet. I was like, what's happening here? What just happened? People didn't even catch that, bro. And ESPN is like, they with him too, man. It's like this. I don't understand it, bro. These cats did boycotts. Even like a Stephen A. Smith, he walked off the set for Jacob Blake, bro. What is this like? It's like you want a virtue.
Unbelievable.
It seems like a virtue signaling, right? Like, look at me, I support black people type shit. But it's like, oh, okay, but
Herb. That's an old New York term and stuff. Herb. That's like like a flunky.
What happened?
Scary YT Streets is in the chat. She was saying Herb is an old school term. Like, you call somebody a Herb, like you a punk. Like, you know what I mean? You like a flunky.
I guess he's looking at our history.
You call Herbin.
You wouldn't understand, San Miguel. Are you talking to Truth Seeker? Are you talking about LeBron James? And why wouldn't I understand? Because I'm not black. I don't know. Because I always get that. You don't understand, man. You're not black. Bro, I've had a rough upbringing. Not to get into my personal shit, but I'm sure I've had a harder life than many, many black people out here. Their fucking skin color doesn't supersede my struggle. So fuck you. I hate
you
that
said
shit.
Black celebrities are always being called dumb. Because most of them is this shit.
Tom Brady is dumber. Yeah.
Tom Brady is dumber.
The white man is the one that's portrayed as the dumb, goofy person on TV and movies. That's what I see. And black celebrities always being called dumb. I don't know, man. Well, like Will Smith, I think that was kind of dumb.
Yep, that was dumb as hell.
Especially if you damn, I don't know what's going on with his.
That's like the dumbest shit of all show business. I don't think any other actor ever done anything even close to that shit ever.
Chris Rock said that was the greatest night of show business.
Yeah, for real.
It's for real, man. It's for real.
Somebody gonna fight somebody and shit. They supposed to have, these people got money. They supposed to be together. They supposed to know how to act and stuff and do other things. Other than
they let him get his Oscar. They didn't take him out. They didn't get him arrested. Well, Chris Rock didn't want to get the cops involved for sure. It wasn't that. I don't think it was that serious. But if he wanted to, he really wanted to, that could have happened. A friend of mine,
Chris Rock, I'll be like, get that nigga. get that nigga off the premises. Can't have black people in here to do nothing.
A friend of mine said that the only reason why Will Smith wasn't arrested and wasn't kicked out was because he slapped another black man, and they don't care about black people. I was like, what? Like, no. It's probably because first of all, he's a dynamic, huge celebrity, and he's black. If they want to get black people, that was the opportunity right there. They would have got him, but they didn't, man. The person that ran the Oscars, the whole production was done by a black man anyways. And Chris Rock is black. So it's like they didn't want to see their boy. You know,
your volume is low.
You can't hear me?
I don't know if it's you or me.
I don't know, man. Sometimes I got issues.
Negi, you still there?
Yeah, I don't know. Negi's in the background.
Yeah, I'm still here. What's up?
Yeah, I'm not a victim. Here's a message. I'm not a victim. I'm blessed.
Yeah,
because
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
All
have
right.
Have you ever heard of lynching or Jim Crow? My cousin, a Vietnam vet, was killed in 1970, and his killers were acquitted.
Yo, dude, your volume's real low.
All white jury. You hear me? I'm coming through really low. I don't know why.
You hear it? Your volume's real low.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't know why. I hear you guys fine. Hey, Negi.
Let me see if it's me. Let me refresh my thing.
Negi, am I coming through low?
It might be me.
I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I'm not a victim, this guy says. I'm blessed because of my ancestors. Have you ever heard of lynching or Jim Crow? Hey, have you ever been through a lynching or a Jim Crow? Truth seeker. Have you gone through the Jim Crow stuff yourself, or are you traumatized because of something that you heard that happened in the past to your people? Because you don't have to deal with Jim Crow. I mean, how old are you? You know, Vietnam vet was killed in 1970. His killers were acquitted by an all-white jury. Well, I don't have the details of that. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about, your cousin. I mean, if you can give me an article, I could look up the details, then I can see whether it was wrong or not. You just saying an all-white jury doesn't mean that it was automatically racism involved. But I know that's the implication of you saying that an all-white jury. There's like 70% white people in this country, man. And sometimes an all-white jury happens. It's not because of racism. Guess what? Damn, O.J. Simpson was also acquitted. It was like a 99% black jury. I think one of them was half black or Hispanic or something. So that's one right there. Then you got the killer, who was a head basketball coach who did a one-punch kill in Queens. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this story, man. I forgot this coach's name, but there's a coach, a basketball coach, a black man out in Queens, who basically was driving down the street, and a drunk white guy, I think, hit his car like I was walking. He tapped his car or smacked his car with his hands, right? So the white guy, he's drunk as fuck. He thought it was his Uber, you know? So he's chasing the car thinking, oh, that's my Uber. This black guy gets mad, jumps out the car, knocks this guy out. The guy falls and hits his head on the floor and dies. Now, this basketball coach was in Queens, New York. It was maybe like 2 years ago. This guy killed a man. Black guy killed a white guy. He got no jail time. So the people that, I mean, listen, I'm not saying that to say, oh, this doesn't matter. You're stressing out the shit that happens to black people as if it doesn't happen to everybody else. You know?
Yeah.
Stop doing that. We all get fucked out here. Hispanics get fucked. Asians get fucked. Black people get fucked. You know? Asians have been in solidarity with Black Lives Matter before Black Lives Matter. Out in the 60s, 70s for civil rights, you had Asians pushing for that shit too. There was a group of Asians, which the name is not politically correct anymore, but it was like Yellow Peril supports Black Black Lives, not Black Lives, I forgot, Black Victims or something like that, or the Black Struggle. So, because I had somebody tell me that, well, Asians, so what if we kill all these Asians? Where were they at during the civil rights era to fight for us? Somebody said that. I'm like, what? Like, how are you even comparing the two? Like, that doesn't mean you could go off and just start killing Asians because you didn't feel they supported black people enough in the 60s. You're gonna pick random Asians today to kill and justify it through that? Yo, I don't understand. Like, only black people be doing that shit, bro. I'm sure this.
Oh snap! 7 up in here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine. I hear you.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. Like this shit. This is the type of shit. It's like Asian people don't go out there targeting just random black people. You know, if that's what happened here with this Asian guy, he targeted random white people. Then okay, if we have the history of that, then that's fine. It doesn't happen as often as I'm seeing here with black on Asian, because like we were talking about, you were saying, Killah B, how you don't know how often it's a black on white, and I actually have the numbers on that. The numbers on that, because I've done a video on black crime. That's one of my favorite videos, bro. That shit.
Yeah, we almost triple. We lead in robbery, murder, and gambling.
Yeah, the only thing that white people lead in is DUI driving shit. Like they get
no. The whites, they lead in everything except murder.
No.
Robbery.
They don't.
And gambling. That was the FBI statistic.
Not if you adjust for population. They lead in everything. So that's called the ratio thing. This is why, like, to do this, because all right, like, check this out. There's 60 to 70% white people in this country, 13-14% black people if you count Hispanics in there, because Hispanics is not a race. So you got to throw in white Hispanics with the whites and black Hispanics with the blacks. There's way more. There's way more white. It's like 16% Hispanics in this country. It's like 10 or 12 or even more. I think it's 14% of that is white Hispanics. Like the numbers are crazy. The black Hispanic is only like 1.9 or 1.7, something like that.
Yeah, because there ain't nobody trying to say they black and shit, especially those Hispanic people.
And again,
none of their asses trying to say they black. They have a bigger ass afro and everything and shit. They're like, you know black, Poppy. We know black.
Probably what's fucking with the population number, but if that is, I mean, which I'm sure it happens, that would drive up the white murders more. Which it still doesn't show that white people are leading black people in homicides, even if you adjust. Now these are the numbers. The black on black, like I said before, when there's a murder and they catch the offender, 95, 94, this is going on for years. Some years it was like 92%, some years 94, some years one year was 96% of black people are doing the murders of other black people. So that means there's not much room left for other nations to do, interracial murders against black people. Now, when you switch it up, 80% of the murders, and now the number of black murders that are that we know about is 6,500 something, 6,000 something. The white murders overall are 5,000 and something. Now, keep in mind there are like 5 times more white people in this country than black people. Yet black people supersede them in the total number of murders alone without adjusting for population. If you adjust for population, black people are killing black people 10 times more than white people kill white people when you adjust for the population, because now you got to imagine if, all right, 13% do 55% of the murder. What if there were 26%? Double the population of black people. What's that going to do to the murder? The percentage of murders? It's going to hike it up even more. So if we do that to make the equal amount of black people to equal amount of white people in this country, and we double up the murders along with the population, then the murders are going to be off the chain if there were the same amount of black people than there are white people in this country. So that's why you have to adjust for the population, because when you adjust for population, black crime supersedes almost in every category except the DUI one. Now, that's when you adjust for population. Yeah, there's going to be the majority of people in this country are white, so they're going to do the majority of shit in this country.
Right.
Sure. But yeah, man, this story with this with this black coach, I just wanted to bring that out because I wanted to do a video on that. Let me see. It's a Queens basketball coach. It's a one-punch death. If you put one-punch death, that shit comes up. The guy got like 10 months probation. He didn't get no jail time.
Wow.
Jamil Jones was sentenced to probation and deadly punch, New York. A A former men's college basketball assistant coach was sentenced 3 years of probation. 3 years. Community service and a fine. Ex-basketball coach sentenced to probation in Queens punch death. Yeah, you can look that up, guys. It's June 2020, July 2020. Is a Wake Forest coach. If you know about college basketball and all that, you got a good college basketball team. But yeah, now this is a black guy that killed a white guy, and this shit like this doesn't get highlighted. So when people are just highlighting the white on black, it's gonna appear as if it's happening more. But it's like you know, when you count for these numbers now with the white murders, where there are 5,600 murders that are done by white people against white, or that white people are the victims of. 82 to 84, 85%, depending on what year, it was done by other white people. So now there's a bigger gap there left open for interracial murders, which is 15%. Where do you think most of those interracial murders are coming from? If it's not a white person, because 85% is a white offender too. White offender, white victim is 85% of those 5,500 murders. So there's 15% of those are done by other races. The main race is black people, and they're taking up almost all of that. It's like 14%, 15%. It's like all of that, you know.
Yeah.
That's happens more than a white on black, because white on black happens like 4% of this, 5% of the time, which is
Right.
like you would expect in a country where the majority is white. You would expect more white on black, you know, like you expect more racist white people out here because there's just more white people out here. You expect more white nationalist cults, white racists, KKK, neo-Nazi. You expect more of that because you have more white people. And what I'm seeing is that overall, if you look at population-wise or just a percentage-wise of how many of total white people are radicalized compared to the percentage, you know, how many total black people out here, I think you're going to see more of radicalized black people out here that join shit like Hebrew Israelites or some, even this like black consciousness community. They might not be as radical, but they still have that tinge of like racism towards white people. Like you hear it with Polite, you know, you hear that shit on Sonetter, you know, they still have that. So it's like that shit wouldn't fly if it was a white, you know, like the way people just like think that shit is cool, and just in the black community, it's like I don't know why shit is just accepted like that. Hispanics, you know, I mean, and it's like not really like Haitians and West Indians, like they got a different culture, bro. You know, there was
they do.
You know, there was studies done in New York City, in Brooklyn, where there's neighborhoods, there's tons of West Indians in Brooklyn, and there's neighborhoods of West Indians, and not too far from neighborhoods was full of just American black people. And they've compared school grades, graduation rates, pregnancy rates, and all this different shit. And it's like, it's not really a problem amongst the West Indian community and the different West Indians that come to New York. It's mostly a problem.
They know to stay away from niggas and shit when they get
here. Yeah, but it's like some of these problems, it's not like people say it's a black supremacy, it's black. This is because we're black that we're going through problems where we don't graduate, where we don't go to school, they fail us. It's like, it's not our fault, it's their fault. It's like a scapegoat into somebody else's fault, when it's like maybe it's the fault of the community itself. Because if it's a black thing, how come this oppression is not apparent with amongst West Indians that are black? Sometimes you can't tell the difference between a West Indian and a black American. So it's like people that are racist, like if there's so much racism out here, it doesn't look like West Indians and Africans that are coming straight from Africa are even being affected by this, because these are the people that benefit a lot, the most as black people, from shit like affirmative action. People, West Africans and West Indians, they benefit more. They take advantage of these opportunities more than Black Americans. It's like, whose fault is that? You know, it's like there's just a lot of things that I'm seeing that needs to be called out, man. Like, it's too much of these cries of false racism, man. There was a recent false racism thing where this black girl burned her dorm. Did you hear about this?
Nah.
It was like a Jussie Smollett type shit. I forgot what university. I think it was upstate New York. And she burned down her dorm, and she took and before she did that, she was saying it was racist, by the way. But before she did that, she took a photo of a so-called like piece of paper that was put on her door that said something racist, and then her shit was burned, and she was like trying to get attention. It's like a mental sickness of people trying to get attention. You know, it happened a lot, man. It happened like on a bus one time, and they had video of the black girls just like hitting these white guys, and then they blamed it on racism. And it's like the video in the bus showed everything. It's like these girls were being the aggressor. There's a lot of this shit where I'm seeing it's like people are starting to catch on. Like this shit works. It's an effective manipulation tool of shaming white people for their history. And it's like, you know, they go into history. Like this guy was talking about Jim Crow and lynchings. And it's like, I bet you he doesn't know that white people and Asians were lynched too. It wasn't just black people. Lynching is always just associated with just a thing against black people. White people were also lynched. It was a form of punishment in the South.
Yeah. It was a form of punishment. You are right about like they was lynching black people like this be, but law like a law like kind of thing. Yeah. They were doing that shit.
And then
everybody.
There's a certain amount of recorded lynchings, and yeah, there were more black people that were lynched, but it wasn't really by much. I mean, it probably was like double, because of course there's a history of this racism, and it's still racism here. But it was very prevalent. It was more prevalent back in these days, these black and white days of the civil rights. It's a different time we're living in right now. There's so much.
Blacks probably didn't commit crime like at an alarming rate like that back then. Like I bet the statistics were totally different back in the day than the way it is now.
Yeah.
So my father even had said that. Like he from like the deep South with all that stuff, 40s, 50s, all that stuff was going on. And he said police officers wasn't even killing black people like that. Like they say they killing them now. He said, but black people had respect for the law back then.
Yeah, it was
different. People
that's
have respect for the law.
That's why I always say like there was a different time. And when you look at what happened and what changed in black culture, it's like there was some introduction to like the street mentality, being a badass, and you not taking no shit, resolving disputes with violence is something that's common. I mentioned my air pump story. It's like I knew that this dude was gonna fight me, man. Like I could already tell. I mean, it's just not just because he was black. It was just the style. There's a culture. It's not just the skin color that I see, and I don't say, "Oh, look, this person's black. I gotta be careful." No, I see the fucking gold fronts. I see the fucking way that you're walking, your pants sagging down where I can see your underwear. This is not just a black person. This is a certain type of black person. So I don't overgeneralize and say all black people. That's not, because like I'm tired of motherfuckers constantly pointing this shit out. Like, yo, you hate black people. That's like, why? Because I'm focused on the problems in the community and I want to see a fucking change. I want to expose it. I want to shame it. What needs to be shamed is what's happening now. You trying to shame white people for shit today. You trying to shame white people today for shit that happened during the fucking what did he say? Jim Crow? Like those people here today were not around back then. Who are you mad at? You mad at ghosts? Go to these guys' damn tombstones and go piss on that shit if you're so mad. But who are you gonna be mad at? Random white people and take your hate, And just if you're saying this is some type of traumatic effect, I refer you to a man named Booker T. Washington, who was actually born into slavery, and slavery was abolished when he was like 9, and he learned how to read. He became a successful fucking man. And he's not a person bitching today that didn't go through slavery. People today never went through any slavery, never went through any of this lynching shit. This shit is not happening. Every time there's a suicide out here where a black person, maybe hangs himself or something, they fucking want to suspect that it was a lynching, and there'd be no evidence of this shit. They
need to be doing that shit. They need to be doing that shit. They need to be doing that shit.
Evidence that the girl was suicidal. There was one story of a young black girl, and they always say, "Yo, black people don't kill each other. They don't commit suicide." They say like they don't do it at a high rate. White people do it more for sure, but because the Asian committed suicide, right? The Muslim Asian Filipino guy that shot up the I don't know, Washington D.C. Did
he ended up doing that. That's a shame. But
Negi, where you been at?
Yeah, right. My battery about to die. I'm at 2%.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
look up in the chat.
I'll still be here. My
Oh,
laptop.
they were going in the chat. Wait.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't. I'm not even paying attention.
I'm just keeping my mouth shut because when I hear this kind of stuff, I just try not to.
He
talk
said, "I
too
keep my
much.
mouth shut on this shit."
Oh,
I'm like,
KP,
Oh,
you got to ride out.
oh,
That's cool, man. I appreciate you coming on.
yeah.
I'm gonna kick it with Negi for a while because I want to touch on this
Wait, what's
gangster.
YT?
You know about them. You know
Oh,
about
YT, scary YT streets was going in. You need to hit the link. Get out, niggas and shit.
Oh, let me
Scary.
send. I want to send out a link if y'all want to. If these cats want to join, it's just man, my joint.
Oh shit.
I can't even.
Damn, my battery about to die too. Come on, scary YT streets. Hop on.
What was he saying?
She wilding out up in here. Oh shit. I didn't even see. I wasn't even looking at the chat.
Yeah, I didn't see it either, bro. I was like, what are you talking about? But yeah, bro.
Got books written on my ancestors.
Teaching history is not shaming them. No, you're shaming them because you're saying that people, white, well, not you, but overall, the people that are shaming them are people that talk about like racism, systemic racism. So they're making it seem like as if there's still racism today being perpetuated by white people somehow in the system, and I mean that black people are all up in the system depending on which city you go to. There's tons of black mayors all around, bro. They're in the system. They are the system. So it's like if you find racism in there, which I can't find any laws that are just targeted at black people, man. Come on. Let's stop with the damn systemic shit. If you're that type of person that believes in systemic racism, because that's what I'm kind of getting, but that critical race theory, that is a form of shaming white people. If you see the curriculum that they're teaching, they make it seem like this is something that's like white people can't not be racist. They have to be.
Yeah.
They say white silence is violence. They say so. You have to.
That's what they're teaching in these colleges. And my brother, he talks about it sometimes because he's going to school, and I've heard that white silence is violence thing, and it sounds
white silence is you can't even not be quiet. You have to be or just be neutral. You have to be an advocate and join the movement and be out there protesting with them to show that you're not racist. The assumption is that you are racist, and they want you to show them that you're not. So that's where they fuck up at. I assume that people that I don't know are not racist until they show me. So the neutral position is you're not a racist. This person is not a racist. The Korean that shot the 15-year-old black girl, I'm not going to assume that she was a racist. But the assumption is that she was a racist. That's why she's not black. But listen, and then black Hebrew Israelites are shaming white people. They're making white liberals. I've seen that out here in Orlando, all over. These white liberals are licking black Hebrew Israelite boots in the streets, my friend. Please show me a video of a black person getting down on his knees and licking the boots of a white supremacist right now in 2022, 2021. Go back 5 years. I'll give you that. 10 years, I'll give you. 10 years. I'll give you 30 years. And you won't get that. Since the 90s, I'll give you. If you could find anything like that, where it's not a joke or a parody, or real shit where they're bowing down to your master, I can show you a reel. I'm talking about a gag reel, just a reel of videos of white people since the 90s licking black Hebrew Israelite boots in Times Square, Washington, D.C., and the Baltimore pier. I've seen that shit at right here in Lake Eola Park in Central Florida, in Orlando, Florida, downtown Florida. Liberals, I'm talking about white liberals. Now there's conservative white conservatives that they're not going to be doing that shit probably. But this is where critical race theory is coming from. It's coming from the universities, which is largely ran by white liberals who are in agreement with black people, and they teach this shit, and they like being degraded and shit. Some of these motherfuckers, they want you to tell them, like I've had a friend of mine tell me, a black person I went to school upstate told me that they're West Indian, first of all, so they're not Black American. This white person assumed that she was that he was West Indian or Black American, and said, "I'm sorry for what my aunt." The teachers in front of class stopped the class and said, "I'm sorry for what my ancestors did to you. If you hate me, I understand." I was like, "What?" The teacher said
That's
that?
crazy.
Yeah, I was like, that's crazy." I'm like, she doesn't even know that you're not Black American, so it's like her ancestors probably have nothing to do with anything. So but yeah, it's this is happening out here. You see,
You guys hear me?
I hear you. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, my battery's about to die like now. So I just wanted to say thank you for having me on. And know what we got to do a video on? We got to do a video on Black and Hispanic relations.
Ooh, I like it.
Yep. Because even the school taught that they said Ephraim, what was it? Ephraim will envy Judah, and Judah will vex Ephraim. You know what I'm saying? And like that was one of the things that they taught us too, that everybody like believed. Like, you know what I'm saying? They said, look at Red Fox. Like you see Red Fox like beefing with the Julio that lived next door, the Puerto Rican dude next door. They be beefing.
I love San Miguel, bro. That's one of my favorite shows, by the way.
Yep.
I watched
Julio with the goat.
I watched that show with my dad.
Give me a minute. I'll be back in a minute.
Hey, you gotta stay on there.
I'll be back in a second. I'm just using the bed.
I'm joking.
He probably got to throw up. Drug all that damn vodka. That's what it is.
Oh man, see,
that's why he was quiet. That's why that motherfucker was quiet.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I saw that drink.
He was acting a fool earlier.
Brown.
They caught up to his ass.
That's the brown. You gotta. Wait, you said vodka?
Yeah, he had some absolute.
He probably mixed
it. Yeah, he was doing something with that motherfucker.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice and clear. I know that.
He probably throw it up right now and shit. He was acting a fool earlier.
Drink of choice, KB. Like if I was to ask you what bottle you want, bro, it's on you. We are going to a liquor store, man. What you want? Whiskey, scotch? What would you pick first of all? What kind? Which whiskey, scotch, rum? What do you like?
Shit, I like rum. I like rum. Yup, I like rum and gin.
Kind of rum from where?
I ain't picky, but like if it was if you had it like that and shit, like you was like, yo, get whatever you want. I like absinthe. You have absinthe? Absinthe is shit. It's like it's a real overproof alcohol, but it's supposedly originated in France, and like you gotta drink it with water and sugar. It's like green, and when water mixes with it, it turns milky white.
Okay, you don't like Johnny Walker Green Label?
Nah, I don't really mess with the Johnny Walker like that. That shit tastes crazy as hell to me.
It does. That should have put hair in your chest. There's another one. There's a scotch called Glenlivet that I had recently. That's
good.
It was actually aged in a rum barrel though. This was like a special one. And
oh wow,
I like rum too much. Like I overdid rum as a young kid. I'm Dominican, so I'm Brugal. And I even like Bacardi. I've had Panamanian rum is my favorite rum, which is Abuelo.
I didn't know they stopped making 151.
I don't like that, bro. I got a 151.
They say they don't make 151. I know out here they don't.
I'm glad they don't.
151 Bacardi.
I'm a Devil's Spring. If you're a drinker, you know Devil's Spring.
I don't know if y'all heard me.
Yeah, I heard you. You hear me? Yeah, your sound is bad, bro. You don't hear me?
Yeah, Ray and nephew. Yeah. Scary White T Streets.
Yo, you hear me, KB? I don't think you hear me sometimes.
Yeah. Wait, y'all hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, but I don't think you hear me. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I'm laughing at Scary White T Streets in the chat. Yeah, Ray and nephew. Yeah, that Ray and nephew room, that shit put your ass out. You be fighting yourself. You get your own self in a fight.
What kind of alcohol is that?
It's overproof Jamaican rum.
Jamaican rum. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 151 proof.
Get the hell out of
here. Yup. That shit is fucking. Negi need to get some of that shit.
Yo, Killah B, you know Devil Springs then?
Huh?
Devil Springs.
No, I don't need any of that 151 proof. So my white boy behind is lightweight, like super lightweight.
Yep. So, if you didn't know, now you know. You were just throwing up, huh?
No, I wasn't throwing up. I'm good.
You
I'm
throw it
saying,
up.
no, I never puke. I never have that problem. But
If I drink wine too fast, like I did that when I was like 19, I was young too. I drank a whole bottle of Manischewitz. I'm talking about the big one. For my
Damn.
birthday. Yeah, and it fucking like I was done. Forget it.
I've never
Damn.
done that before, but I have drunk too much. That's easy.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Try not to do that. I'm
Sure.
trying to be responsible today. You know, whenever I do a drunk stream, I'm always like responsibly buzzed stream.
You was responsibly buzzed tonight.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
It's,
good.
it's Saturday night, man. Come on. We good. It's not the Sabbath. I don't think it.
Good thing I don't really think about that too much.
Yeah. So you're more on the Christian side now, right? You're not on some
Oh yeah.
like
But the funny thing is, I made a April Fool's video, and now I'm kind of committed to it.
okay. What's that about?
You didn't see it? It's the one where I said I made Judah Nazareth.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I saw that he did a video about you
I
recently.
made it. I made that video as an April Fool's joke, and I'm like making things that sounded. I made statements that sounded like legitimate, like things.
That's how you guys met, right? You guys know each other from Torah Nights, or
Yeah. We were both in Torah Nights, and in the video there are little jokes you can hear. Like I'm like, Killah B is gonna be ticked off to hear this.
Right.
And of course, I quoted him. There was a video that I quoted. I'm like, I'm ashamed of myself.
That's crazy.
Funny.
But yeah, no, this guy's saying that the CRT narrative is to eliminate the history of Jim Crow and Black American immigration. No, they don't want to stop. Listen, you gotta listen to a guy named Glenn Lowry and John McWhorter. John McWhorter is actually a Democrat, an atheist, and he's never voted Republican. The CRT, yeah, there are some misunderstandings about what's trying to happen. What's wrong with CRT is the shaming part of it. It's called group guilting. Group guilting is a cult tactic where because of one person's or because of a group of people in the past, you could do it with one person or people in the past. You're blaming people in the like now in modern times that are connected to them through race, even though they didn't do the stuff that they did back then. So they're connecting all this racism from back then to today, to what's going on in our society today. That's what they're trying to take out of the classrooms because that's a new curriculum. You can't eliminate history, black history. They talk about all this stuff, man, in history. This is called CRT, which is critical race theory, which is something completely different, which is being added. Now, on top of the history, they're adding all this extra stuff, which is systemic racism, how it's in societies and all avenues of society. Black people have problems getting loans because they're Black. They don't get all this and that. And it's like, this oppression that you can still see that they claim that you can still see, which is, I guess, is some residual oppression or something, as if we're trying to correct, and we have corrected the majority of these issues. And I think all the issues, if we're talking about legal issues, like people like to point out the fact that crack, what is it, the powdered crack users get, people that get caught get sentenced less than people that get caught with like crack rock. You know about that.
Oh, you mean powdered cocaine versus crack cocaine?
That's what it is. I'm sorry. So it's because crack cocaine is first of all, it wears off faster, which makes them want to go and get more. So it's actually bought more, it's trafficked more, it's easier to get, it's cheaper, and yes, it has the same effect essentially. What it does to you, but it doesn't stay inside of your body the same duration. So what happens with that drug is that they get it more. So to eliminate that and to scare people, they gave them a higher sentencing. And it just so happens that certain races like to do certain amount of drugs. But the same thing is there with methamphetamine. The same type of sentencing is there. who is the main people that like to use methamphetamine? It's not black people. It's actually mostly white people, and then Mexicans and Hispanics like to use that shit too. That's their drug of choice, you know. That's just how it works. And the sentencing within crack cocaine and powdered, or what was it, crack? I forgot, bro. It did come back on here, Negi. You said
It's
crack cocaine and powdered cocaine. Yeah.
yeah. The two drugs would be powder cocaine and crack cocaine, which is the rock form.
Right. Yeah. I always get that confused. I don't know. Like, I don't fuck with that
Yeah,
shit.
the funny thing is, I know a little bit about that. And what happens is it's a chemical change. You know how when water turns into ice,
Right.
it undergoes a chemical physical change. So what happens is when cocaine powder mixes with the baking soda and then the heat, those two things combine it and make it into a different thing. So it becomes like a solid. That's why it's called what's the word for it? Freebase. Freebase.
Freebase. Yeah.
It's like a very pure form of something. So
Yeah.
there's actually something called freebase nicotine, which is in
Right.
cigarettes, and it's like pure nicotine.
I mean, I can tell the difference between a coke user and a powdered coke user and a crack cocaine.
Yeah,
user.
yeah.
Because
Hey,
you've seen the movie New Jack City? What were they using? They were freebasing. This was hard.
I've seen Scarface, and I can tell you all that stuff.
I mean, yeah, that shit is definitely bad, but you can't really tell. I don't know. There's something about the freebaser that it's just, I guess it's because it wears off so fast. They do more of it.
Yeah, but what's funny is you mentioned that movie, but in that movie, I think the era that they set it in, that was before they learned the quick method that I mentioned.
Right.
That was when that was the Richard Pryor era when you still had to mix chemicals to make freebase.
Yeah.
So if you remember that,
Studio 54.
he set himself on fire doing that.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I think he was on other shit too, though.
But yeah, that might be part of it too, because it was a chemical thing. You had to learn all these chemical combinations.
That's weird. That's crazy.
It's crazy. It is. It is.
Yeah. But I brought that up because that's always like something that gets thrown in there with systemic racism, and all of this stuff is like they say that was targeting.
I'm not a big fan of that topic because it's like something I don't feel like I can speak authoritatively on.
See, I don't like that, Negi, though, because that's what people try to do to you because you're white. And
well, no, it's not even that. It's just I haven't read enough about it. So like what I do is I talk about things that I know about.
No, I got you. Yeah, I got
you.
Yeah,
if I've heard,
you know about a lot of these cults that are in the black community, though. Like, I don't know that history of like Yaku, but I know a little bit of it. I think you were telling me about 5%ers, though. Like, you know a lot about that stuff.
Yeah. The whole 5%er thing is wild because I read a book on it, and there was a guy named Michael Muhammad Knight. I used to be friends with him on Facebook back when I used to have a Facebook.
Yeah.
He actually was a white guy who was like one of a handful of white people who ever got into the 5%ers. Right. But they actually would let white people in. So, me and him we clicked automatically because I told him I was a white guy in a black group. Right. So I read his book, and that's how I became friends with him on Facebook. But
yeah,
that whole 5%er thing is just like the whole Black Hebrew Israelites.
Right. And for this comment here, there's a lot of things that I like to bring up about Black history. I speak about Booker T. Washington. Also, just so you know, Scary White T Streets, the first Black woman or the first woman millionaire in this country was a Black woman. So, as far as women are concerned, the first millionaire that became a woman in America was a Black woman. So there's opportunities out here for people to succeed. And this was in the early 1900s. This was Madam C.J. Walker. She's the first woman millionaire, and it was a Black woman. These are facts. These are little details that are not spoken about also out there in schools. And I understand. I mean, listen, Black history is American history. It's part of this country's history. They've made movies about a bunch of different stuff. I mean, you name it. There's movies about, you know, the first what was that movie, Glory, with Denzel Washington, touching on, you know, the black soldiers that fought for this country. So that's Black history. There's a lot of history that's taught amongst see, it depends where you go too. Like, you can go to college and you can take specific courses on this, and then they touch on this. So it's not true that it's being taught in public schools. Like, if you talk about like maybe high school or middle school, yeah, I mean, they'll bring up, I remember hearing about Booker T. Washington. It depends what Black history you want to learn about, right? Malcolm X, I've even heard that in school. Martin Luther King, you know, gets spoken about. I what I noticed nowadays with Martin Luther King is that they're trying to show him to be somewhat like a more radical type of person when it comes to protesting and the rioting, to try to excuse it. I don't know if you ever seen this, Negi, but people try to say that using a Martin Luther King quote where he said that riots are the language of the unheard.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that quote, but the truth is, he did not advocate that at all. He was
No, what he said immediately after that was that rioting is also self-destructive and self-defeating, but they never finished.
Yeah. He was very much so in line with Gandhi. He was a nonviolent, you know, peaceful protest type.
Yeah, that you know the shooter of the Brooklyn you know, train station, whatever, Frank James. He had a video where Martin Luther King said, "Oh, they want to say burn, baby, burn," but he's like, "I say build, baby, build." So this is another soundbite that I just got from this guy, you know, that I've never heard about Martin Luther King speaking against rioting and burning and doing all this crazy shit where you're just
Can I say something just to give you some balance to that?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, when you see these people rioting, what are they really burning down? They're not burning down the Starbucks. They're not burning down the Whole Foods. They're burning down the dollar store.
Right.
They're burning down the place where the black
people got to work, or Black people got to get their medicine.
That's it. Their food or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a shame because you know who's behind it, and it's not Black people.
You don't think so?
I don't think it's Black people. I think it's, you know, people that you know, take advantage of the situation. Like,
no, it's not. I'm not saying it's just Black people, but no, you could see there's tons of videos of. I mean, it's not just Black people, if that's what you're saying, but
it's anarchistic types, people who don't even understand.
Well, I mean, like Antifa, right? There's not a lot of Black people that's part of Antifa, but
yeah, that's the funny thing. When you hear people saying that we need more diversity, we need more inclusiveness, but what do you see? You see a uniformity of white people among these white liberals.
Well, I mean, that's because I think mainly in Portland and Seattle and these places where these groups form, they're very liberal places. There's not a lot of Black people in these places. You know that? There's not a lot of Black people out there.
I kind of get it, the local demographics, but here's the funny thing. These people will list inspirations like the EZLN in Mexico.
Okay.
But they won't have any Latino members. So it's really,
but then they'll be quick to fight and say and do something in solidarity for Black people.
It's solidarity, but it's solidarity with no teeth. It's like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this topic is I don't know if you want to continue talking about it.
But I don't like it. But one thing that I like to emphasize, and I'll just leave this alone, is that I'm very pro-Black when it comes to real things. For real things that are concrete, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of studying on these things. Like I didn't want to speak about it for years, you know, because I didn't know a lot. So I was just like learning, and slowly I started seeing things, you know, and I know that there's disenfranchisements, like Scary White T Screech says. It actually happens all around the board, though. But my point, and what I do, Negi, mostly when I speak about these issues is not to say I'm not in solidarity with any struggle, any racism against Black people. I'm definitely sensitive to all of that. You know, like the whole shooting of Latasha Harlan, that's a horrible thing, what happened. And then the sentencing was even worse, you know. But what I'm saying is that this also happens to other people, and it's not automatically because of their race. So you might find a disparity, scary white tea streets and everybody listening, a disparity doesn't equal discrimination. So you're going to see disparities between people that are in the nursing, you know, programs, people that are nurses. There's a disparity in the gender and sex. There's more women. That's a disparity right there. It doesn't mean that it's because they're discriminating against men. So we have to figure out exactly why some of these disparities happen. What I see that happens automatically is that there's an assumption of racism. Black people are the majority, or 50 some percent black people, the people in jail are black or something like that, or 45 to 55, I forget. That's a disparity when you consider the population. That's crazy. Now, people usually assume that, well, it depends who you talk to, but what I'm seeing that's problematic is the assumption that the reason for that disparity is discrimination, is because these people are black and black people are discriminated, they get arrested more. But it's not. I went through the numbers of the homicides. Homicides are not crimes that get targeted where you got police up in the neighborhood bothering you, waiting for somebody to kill somebody. Those, now I'm against those types of harassments and profiling, where you got people that might be hanging out on a block, and then you got police, you know, that want to arrest them for things like smoking marijuana, maybe, you know, which is petty as fuck. So when that shit happens, it's like, that's something in the community that can be changed. You know what I mean? Like it's a law that needs to be changed where you need to, I guess, decriminalize weed. That would bring down some of the arrests in the black community, but it's not going to change the homicides and the criminality. Just changing the law is not the issue. So the issue is the criminality that you see amongst the community, and it's in Hispanic community too. Trust me. There's a lot of shit that we don't do right.
Yeah, yeah, and just to back you up, I know that too. I've seen that in.
We spend a lot of money on alcohol. We spend money on shit that's frivolous, frivolities. You know, things that are not futuristic. You know, forward thinking. Now,
Yeah, now you're hitting a little close to home, but oh
yeah,
well.
yeah. I mean, listen, I know my people. I know how I like. I mean, you know, I like to drink too, and I'm not mad at people that drink.
Oh
There's
yeah,
nothing
yeah.
wrong.
I know. It's too gente.
Yeah, mi gente, we got our issues too, man, and like I point that out too. My Asian hate video, I threw in Hispanics in there too. You know, it might be black or white Hispanic. You know, and you know that's a difference. And but the thing is that even white Hispanics are now being influenced by a culture that was created, or at least, well, yeah, it was created and popularized by Black Americans from the Bronx. You know, hip hop. Hip hop has a whole culture, which it wasn't always like this. It was graffiti, breakdancing, rap battles, and it was fun partying. And somehow something happened in the 80s or some shit where shit turned into I'm gonna fucking kill you and shoot you. I'm a bad mother effer and this and that. And it's like,
I'll tell you what it was, and this is an interesting segue into what you wanted me to talk about, if you still do. It's the whole gang thing. Originally, the gang thing changed. You see, it used to be that you couldn't be a gang member and be rude to the police. You even had to be respectful to the police, otherwise you get in deep, deep trouble.
they would want to work with the police for
So what happened is these gang members lost that original, sense of respect and whatnot. So with that change in the gang culture, it changed in other ways.
Okay.
So people started adopting a more, quick to jump, if you're feeling froggy, leap type mentality. So
Yeah.
that's how they started thinking, because that whole gang culture had evolved. Like it used to be rules upon rules upon rules. Like you couldn't do anything really.
Right.
Like there were black gangs that didn't do drugs. They didn't, allow people to do drugs or even sell them.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a real change, and it's like
even the mafia, certain mafia leaders bosses at some point were on that type of stuff. No
Yeah,
drugs.
yeah. The mafia in New York, the five families, they had a rule against it.
Yeah, no drugs. We just do we rob shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The biggest things back then were like Italy had its own lottery. So what would happen is the Italians would all they'd pick numbers, and the winning numbers would be announced, and
Mm.
it was a big deal. So they would fix some of these numbers.
Well, that thing picked up in Harlem too. If you watch the movie Hoodlum, that was something that Bumpy Johnson was doing too. And
And
that's
there were other gambling things, but
yeah,
it wasn't anything more severe than that. It was like
yeah. You know about the Harlem Renaissance and all that history too, right?
uh jog my memory. What happened then?
Harlem Renaissance. It's just like the black community just really coming up and
Yeah,
owning.
yeah. That's when jazz started to.
Yeah, jazz. Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald. Yeah, the Cotton Club. All that stuff. Harlem. Harlem is the mecca of black success and black independence. And like if you go to Harlem today, there's not a lot, like especially the old school cast. There's not a lot of that victim mentality that I see today, where they're constantly blaming, society for problems. They out there, they get money. Like they're about Harlem like people from Harlem. New York City is a group on its own, but people from Harlem, they're on their own. Like they stand alone when it comes to like the grind, how they talk, how they act, and all of that.
Yeah, yeah. The funny thing is, if you talk to someone who's actually been through like a real rough situation,
Mhm.
they don't find little petty things to complain about.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. And so it's like a secondhand oppression. Like this guy talking about Jim Crow, he never experienced anything with Jim Crow, but he's wants to date. Well, I don't know if he's doing that because he wants to victimize all black people. But Jim Crow, first of all, didn't affect all black people. Just so you know, Jim Crow was only in a certain amount of states. So if you want to say that this is the overall problem with what's happening in the black community, it's just. I mean, I don't buy a lot of that, man. I
I
understand.
mean, I'll tell you what I've seen, and it's more like this. Uh, there is a real sense of like they're trying to wuss down black people. They're trying to make people into, you know, not as strong, not as willing to fight against oppression. It's more like
Oh, like
it's
softening, you know.
it's really embarrassing, and I say that as someone who is a white guy, but also very pro-black. I want to see them as strong and intelligent and all
Yeah.
that.
Well, you said what kind of oppression? What do you when you said that they're trying to make them not fight against oppression?
They're trying to make it to where that instead of fighting against it using the means that are obviously available, what they're doing is they're trying to make them go, "Oh, we're getting picked on. We should just lay here and lay there and let the boot just constantly."
Or just F everything. We're gonna burn everything down. It's
It's
like
like, yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm giving up. It's like there's no hope. Like I posted a story and I watched this video yesterday, and it's a story about a kid, a young black kid in Louisiana, in New Orleans. And Louisiana's been coming up a lot lately, man. Because never mind. But this story pretty much, it was a young kid who was given opportunities, tons of opportunities, because the mayor was interviewed and she said, "Oh, I know this kid personally. I worked with him and his family personally to try to help him, and we try to get him into a program where he was like in some young cadet type thing. I don't know exactly what kind of program it was, but she was basically personally helping the family because there were issues from the start. There's no father in the household, which is a big problem. I mean, there's like 72% of kids born out of wedlock, 75, maybe even 80% in the black community, kids born out of wedlock. Now, I understand that doesn't necessarily mean there's no father in the house because they're not married legally, but that's an indicator of what kind of what's going on. You know, and just to marry somebody, it's like a certain amount of respect that you have now for the woman, and the family is just has a different build, than somebody who's just kind of just have a baby mom and like all that baby mom and baby father shit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, it's just bad. It's not.
Yeah. But what was the thing with that whole situation?
What situation?
The one who
Oh, the kid. Right. So this, I'm sorry. I was getting into the side thing. sorry, the kid. So he was given all these opportunities, and so the news report basically said that he kept offending. He continued. He ended up robbing a woman in a gas station, and then she tried to hold on and stop this thing, and she was dragged for like 50 feet or something like that, and she busted up her head, and she was in the hospital, and she was almost like in a vegetative state. And then they found the kid's cell phone at a murder scene where a 12-year-old black kid was killed. And it's like, I mean, I hate to bring it up the race but they love bringing up the race.
Yeah,
So it's like I want to do it to bring the point home, because that's what they do. They over victimize the when it's a black person, right? It's like over. Yeah. It's like it hurts more. It's like you hear. It's more of an what's it called? Outrage. When you hear of a white person killing a black person.
Yeah. Let me just put it this way. The way I see it, I've seen like they don't you don't see that same energy when it's black on black, which is
definitely not that. No, what they say, this is how I know these stats, because this is why I did my black on black crime video. What they'll say is that 95% of black people kill each other, and it's about 84%, or they'll go down to the lowest number, 92%, I think was 1 year, but they like that number. But it's been 95% in some years. But 92% of black people kill each other, and 84% of white people kill each other. Those numbers are pretty close to each other, and that's how they'll downplay it. But what they don't tell you is that percentages of things don't tell you the total amount of times that it's happened. Like, for instance, you could have 9 out of 10 black people that killed each other, which is 90%, and you can also have 900 out of 1,000 black people that kill each other, which is also 90%. So if it's if let's say the 9 out of 10 is white people, and the 900 of 1,000 is black people, and somebody says, well, both of them are 90%, so it's the same thing. It's not the same thing. 9 out of 10 it's obviously not happening as frequently as 900 out of 1,000. And I've seen a video, and Young Turks has a black host with a different whole show by Rashad Ritchie, and all his videos are shaming white people, Karens. That's all he does. He never speaks about what's happening in the black community. The Young Turks are very liberal.
I know them, but
yeah.
It's just stupid. I mean, one thing I can say is that's an embarrassing thing for him. I mean, I don't understand why he even agrees to do that, because that's like they bring him out almost like, hey, we need to talk about something related to black people. Come on out, man. Here's your chance. It's like,
there's a lot of oppression out here in the world, and black people are still targeted for a lot of the hate crimes that happen. It happens to black people, trust me. But I wonder how many of those are official, because I mean, not to sound like insensitive, but there are a lot of times when, like I'm saying, things just get assumed because I'm black. There's even a song by a singer, Is It Because I'm Black? The 1960s song.
I think I've heard that, but
it's such a good song.
You're actually hitting a point on the head, and it's really funny because there's jokes people make, but they're rooted in reality. Like when you see a guy in a trench coat spraying a swastika on the side of a synagogue, and someone's like, "Hey, Rabbi, what you doing?"
Right. There's a lot of jokes that I've seen, even with like Dave Chappelle. You watch the Chappelle show?
Oh, he's a very funny comedian, and he's exactly what I think a person should do when it comes to that stuff.
But he sensationalizes certain things that are probably not so true right now. But because it's like I don't know what it is, bro. It's like a sensationalism of how hard black people have it. It's like it's like almost wearing it as a stripe. Like, look what I go through. I got a harder struggle than you.
Yeah.
It's like that type of thing.
But here's the thing. That goes back to the earliest days of comedy. Comedy was always about taking the bad stuff and making it funny. That's where the comedy comes from. It's the absurdity. So like when black people are talking about how it's weird to drive and have a cop behind them, it's
Okay.
an absurdity thing because that is, the audience can listen to that and go, "Wow, yeah, I've had a cop behind me and felt absolutely scared to death."
Right, right. And just to respond back to that whole crack sentencing thing, my response to that, which is what I've been saying about the meth, it's not, you can't say that it was targeting. They wouldn't have known the results for Scary White Tea Streets. They wouldn't have known the results and the outcome. They don't know the future, what was going to happen. They, like I said before, they made it a harsher sentence to try to scare off people from doing it so much. Now, is that a bad way to deal with addiction? That probably is. I'm not going to say it's not, but what you just saying that it's due to them being black and racism, it's like, I don't buy that. You have to prove it to me. During the Reagan administration, this was what was pushed. Now you can show some evidence of Richard Nixon maybe being a racist. There's some shit. And he kind of started what's known as this war on drugs. I think he started talking about it. So I see some of the points that people hit, but when I bring up the whole meth sentencing, the sentencing for meth is identical to the sentencing for crack cocaine. The people that do meth are largely white people. Is that racism and targeting too? Or do you only do it when it's a black person? This is not a good way of thinking and coming to a conclusion, and just with the assumption of racism is overplayed. That race card has been dropped so many times that the table is broken. Now, stop dropping the race card when it's unnecessary. Apply, because now it's like the boy that cried wolf. Apply it when it's real and when it's necessary. You want to talk about targeting of black people, and not only black people. Redlining was something. Redlining has been made illegal since 1970 something, 72, 1970 maybe. And the people that were also at the same level, the red zone, were Mexicans. You never hear that. Mexicans were also in the red zone of black people, and the orange zones are the other zones. There were also some white people in there too. White people, you have a quote by Richard Jefferson, that says that speaks about Germans and other Europeans that are not pure white, and they call them swarthy. This is a lot of black Hebrew Israelites like to use this to say that some of the old kings, like King James and his descendants, because they were called swarthy because they were from Scotland. These people are darker, like Greeks. He says, Richard Jefferson, you can look up the quote. If you just put Richard Jefferson and swarthy in Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo, you're going to come up with this quote where he talks about blacks too in the quote, which I love because now it's separating swarthy from blacks, which they call Negroes. They didn't call them black people swarthy. They didn't call African Americans or Negroes swarthy. So there's a lot of racism. Jewish people are in that redlining thing too. They're a little higher. They're higher up than the Mexicans and blacks, but they're on there. Irish. There's discrimination against everybody, and that's not to downplay the discrimination against blacks. But the thing is that a lot of these groups and this pro-black, and which I'm all for, they tend to overlook what's happening to other people, and they make it seem like it's just us. This is unique to us. Tamir Rice only happens to black people. No, there's a kid named Peyton Ham. Peyton Ham was a kid, a 14 or 15-year-old white kid that got shot and killed by police. He had a pellet gun, which is the toy gun that they talk about, that looks real, looks like a replica. And they showed you the gun that Tamir Rice had. He took away the orange thing from the inside, and it looked real. It's almost identical. What do you think the cops are going to assume if it gets pointed at them? Now, Peyton Ham, though, real quick, I'll let you talk. But I want to put these names out because they say her name and say their name movement. It only applies to black names, black people, black victims, and then they make it seem as if these shootings are unique to black people. Now, yes, the cops didn't get sentenced, but guess what? In Peyton Ham's case, they didn't get sentenced, they didn't get charged, or what's it called? They got charged, or I don't even think they got charged, but there was no repercussions. And then there was another one out here in Florida. And it was a kid named Alexander King. You could look him up. He had another fake gun, and he was killed out in a very busy street by cops. And then there was a girl named Hannah Williams, who was another white girl that got shot with a replica fake gun, and the cops never get punishment for this. I just want to bring that up. I'm not trying to downplay Tamir Rice and what his mother went through. It's horrible. It sucks. And it's like one of those situations where it's like a no fault type of thing. You know, you ever heard of a no fault, a settlement or something like that, where somebody agrees that, yeah, okay, it's wrong. We're going to give the family money, but you can't blame the cop for doing what he did because of the circumstances. Look at the details. Parents need to speak to their children about having realistic looking guns out here in neighborhoods, especially where there's high crime and high shootings. And it's not because there's an assumption of, oh, because he's black, Tamir Rice. And then you don't hear about Peyton Ham. You don't hear about the other names. And that's where I think it's fucked up. It's not because I care more about other races. If you want equality, then let's say all their names equally. White people's struggles are hard too. Spanish people's struggles are hard too. Just because you're white doesn't mean you have some privilege and you're just gonna go in the bank and get a loan. They're gonna look at your credit score, man. Your race is irrelevant. You know, I've dealt with this. I've worked in this industry before. They tried to help out people based on their race during this is kind of what caused the crisis in 2008, because they weren't looking at the credit scores and they were just trying to help black people and Hispanics. And it's like, you got to have a good history of payment. The best indicator of future decisions and future actions are past actions. That's just the truth that they like to go by in these, these banks, when they look at, is this person credible to be given a loan? We have bad credit in our community, black and Hispanic too. It's not that much difference. Our home ownership the rates are almost equal. It's like at 40-something%. Young the what do you call it? Like the mid 40s, like 42%, 44% of the blacks and Hispanics are homeowners, which is the best way to gain wealth if you're a homeowner, in the society. So we blaming the position, the where where blacks and Hispanics are at on white people and that we don't get opportunities. It's not always the case. We have to look at every factor that affects the circumstances and everything. You can't just assume that it's some race thing. I went on a little rant there, Negi, my bad. But yeah, you were gonna say something. We were talking about the shooting.
I was gonna say it's something that you touched on briefly, but there's a thing I call black exceptionalism. It's this thing where you'll hear it all the time, and it's like at the forefront of all these different things you talked about, but also in a positive sense. So, like, remember when that one dude on TV, was having an issue because supposedly wasn't there kids getting exposed to like porn and alcohol and stuff?
Yeah.
So, like, the thing is, with that whole black exceptionalism, it's like, oh, it's different in the black community. Black kids are exposed to that stuff all the time. It's like, that's how they cover it up. They go, well, it's different. Black kids are always seeing some sexual stuff or whatever. And it's like, they try to make it seem like, oh, you're applying white people standards.
Right.
Like, we can't do that. They're like, we can't apply white people standards because we're different. We're exceptional.
Yeah. And just to respond to this, by lending at balloon subprime rates, you talking about the balloon loans? It wasn't the balloon loans, if that's what you're talking about. The balloon loans is the one where you got to pay the majority of the loan at the end of the loan, at the end of the 30-year loan or whatever. What they were doing were the ARM loans, the ARM adjustable rate mortgage, which for the first 5 years, it was at a fixed rate. And then after that, it was at an adjustable rate that adjusted to the market and the property value of, different things. The problem was that there weren't a lot of people. This was given out to help people. It was started to help people. And then there was a lawsuit turned around saying that they were targeted in a bad way. They were targeted to be helped. And then it got fucked up because payments weren't coming in. And then they turned it around and said that they were targeted because of their race. And they did it in a negative way. But who wasn't making the payments? If you signed the papers on an ARM, first of all, I would never do an adjustable rated mortgage. I was doing collections during this time. And I would see, I had a Hispanic guy call up. I had to call. Sometimes they'll call back because we left the automated message, and I'll do the incoming or outgoing. I hated the outgoing because it's hard to get them on the phone. So when they called in, I'm like, okay, maybe they're ready to pay. I had this one Spanish guy call in one time. He was like, Papi, He's like, listen to me, I got screwed. He's like, I'm effed over. He's like, you want to take the house? I don't even care. He's like, I'll file bankruptcy. He was telling me all of that. And I was like, damn, what the hell happened? You know? And it was supposed to be where, okay, maybe right now you're not ready, but we're going to give you 5 years with a fixed rate of a low rate, and you get your shit together, and then, you know, you can make the payments on, you can finish the rest of the 25 years of payments. So we signed that. Should we have been more careful of what it was? Like, you think these banks wanted to lose these houses? You know how much money they lose when nobody's in the house, and you know, and it's not being rented out. It's so stupid to assume that these people would targeted them so that they can F over their, you know, like, come on, man. Like, these banks want to make money. The only color they care about is green. They don't care about what race you are. If you're a black man that makes payments, they want you, man. They want you. Jay-Z gets all types of fucking benefits, black card, all that, because his credit is excellent. You know, this whole it's because I'm black. They don't look at that. That's not part of the curriculum when they decide which people to lend out to. So there was a thing created in the banking system. Now the banks were sued and they settled at a no fault settlement, which means that it's not true. We don't agree with the accusation, but because it takes so long and sometimes you spend more money going to court for years, you know, it would be better for you to settle because it's cheaper. And that this is a financial strategy that was made by Chase, you know, because people will say, well, why did they settle? Just because they settled, just like I said, with Tamir Rice, they paid Tamir Rice's mother the biggest payment ever made to a victim's, you know, parents. The biggest settlement, I think, next to Breonna Taylor, I think, was Tamir Rice. It was huge. It was like 9 million or something like that. Crazy amount. So I'm not saying that makes it okay, but the problem is that it's understood why the cop felt the need to do that, because the cops have an immunity because this is the job they take, you know. So there's a law that excuses them in situations where they think that they're in trouble and there's danger. They could assume it and react, and just because it wasn't later on, it was found out, doesn't mean that they're guilty of murder or whatever you want to assume, or manslaughter. That's not the case. That's not how it works. And it's a sad situation. It's unfortunate, but it doesn't only happen to black people. And I want people to realize that it seems as if it only does happen to white people and white kids. We never heard of those hashtag Payne Ham. Hashtag Payne Ham and all these other names that I mentioned, Alexander King, Hannah Williams. Hashtag that and then compare it to the number of hashtags for Tamir Rice. It's overwhelmingly way more. I mean, it's more of a reaction. That's why they put cop kills black man in the title of a news story, because they want the clicks. They want people to say, oh, you know, this is clickbait now. It's like, you know, Negi, you ever seen that where they put the race of a black person when they're the victim, but they put in the title, cop kills black person, cop shoots black person.
Yeah. I don't understand how people don't see it these days. It's in your face. It's like right there.
Right. Do more research, and I'm not just limiting it towards black. All right. I don't know what this guy's talking about exactly. We're talking about the loans. I know that I'm not saying you're limiting it towards blacks, but the loans were trying to help minority communities. And where do you see Asians, scary YT streets? Are they part of white supremacists? Or are they part of a minority community? Because they are minority, and they're definitely hated on by whites and black people. But yeah, they're hated on by white people largely. So how come their home ownership rate is like at 70%? They're killing it out here. And they've went up a lot since the last 40. There's like a 50-year chart or 60-year chart on that. And African Americans were going up during the time of redlining. It's somewhere down in the 80s where you see a flat line, you know. And it's been going up. Redlining didn't really hold back home ownership like that. It just kind of put people in certain zones where the homes or the property value were less, which is fucked up, you know, but it didn't really stop home ownership alone. Now, you know, I'm not saying that there's not residual effects. There's residual effects of redlining, because you can't move all these people out now. You know, like, you can't change what happened in the past. And it's like, you look at New York City and there's a certain zone. You can tell this is a black neighborhood. This is an Italian neighborhood. This is a white neighborhood. It's still like that because it just continues on. It's hard to, you know, you're not going to just move people and say we fixed the problem. or destroy housing projects and all of that, But it's just a thing that it's almost accepted. Like Hispanics do this a lot. I don't want to just get on black people. Hispanics, I know for a fact, in New York City, they'll apply for welfare, food stamps, project housing, to the government, which is the housing projects. They'll apply for all of that, and they get comfortable, and then they never own a home because I got a $500 rent bill. Yeah, I got roaches. It's all good. I'm in an apartment that smells like weed all through the hallways, but it's all good. I pay $500, $400 a month, and they get comfortable. They might rent out a room and get more money and get more income, but it's like you still don't own a home. You're still not getting your tax benefits, your tax breaks and all that shit for being a homeowner. Your credit, goes up when you own a home and you make payments on time, all of that, and it helps. And there's just a lot of issues where we're not taking advantage of stuff. We're self-defeating. Riots, like Martin Luther King said, riots are self-defeating. So it's pretty much it makes the property value of your neighborhood go down. There was a woman that was put up as a hero. She had a speech around the time of the Minnesota riots. I don't know where she's from. Black woman with like long dreads. She was saying, "We don't own anything. Black people don't own stuff, and we're out here, and we like you shouldn't be mad about rioting." Well, she was put on Good Morning America. Like she was promoting rioting essentially, and it's like, why is this an exception that this can be done because you're mad and you're black and racism? And it's like you're making an exception where it's like, yo, like sometimes like I don't know, Negi. I don't know if you want to continue this conversation because I don't want to talk to myself about this.
I really don't, but it goes back to what I was saying about black exceptionalism.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm trying to address some of these comments, and Scary White T keeps bringing me back into the.
Yeah, sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes you just gotta
Yeah, what we were doing earlier was fine because like I wasn't looking at the comments. But yeah, no, sometimes I like to address it, because it's like a certain type of audience.
I do understand that, but sometimes you gotta
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really have a topic at hand. When we talked, when I first started talking to you, I was definitely right away. I wanted to get you on my channel, but I wanted to talk to you first just to see, what kind of vibe you have and what you know and what we could talk about. And we spoke about a lot of things. We had a long conversation, which we touched on some of the things already about the gang culture. Story too. If you never heard about that, you should do some research on that. Even Denzel Washington spoke about it one time because he went out to Chicago and he landed at the airport. His driver notices that Denzel's looking out the window. He's looking at some kids that are on bikes, riding alongside the limo, and the limo driver's like, "Yo, those are called little yummies." He tells Denzel. It's Denzel telling the story, and Denzel's like, "What is it, little yummy?" And the limo driver's like, "Look up little yummy. Look up who that is." And so Denzel looks it up, and it's like, what I said earlier is this gang member who's 11 years old. He died at 11 years old. He was killed by his own people. I'm pretty sure it was Gangster Disciples. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But there's that whole area, Milwaukee and Chicago, which is really close to each other. Wisconsin and Illinois, period, have this certain type of gang culture. Like in New York City, we didn't have that. It definitely snuck in. It came into the city, But I remember like in the late 90s as a young teen, or I'm sorry, an older teen, being like rarely coming across somebody that said that they were a Crip or a Blood or anything besides a Lion King. Lion Kings were deep in New York City and Nietas. But I noticed that in the West Side, in the West Coast, it has more of that gang culture. And then in the Midwest has that too. But do you know anything about why that is? Like, it's so weird to me. There's more like, the whole gangs in New York thing. It's like, it's all funny because the history of it is like, there's mostly like white gangs that you see in there. I don't see a lot of the black gangs like that in New York City. It's different. It's like you see like more religious, more like the gods, the Nation of Islam, 5%ers, Hebrew Israelites. Like it's not quite a gang, but they're structured. They have their, their rhetoric. They have their control over members and all that shit. And then like, some of these cult leaders use their members as like a gang, But
Yeah.
why that might have been, why you know, because I know gangs were created because people felt it was necessary for protection and for the community and things like that, right? You know, it was, I think, for the most part, I think
So,
gangs, you know,
yeah, to answer your question, I think the reason that there were, well, I think the Latin Kings kind of changed the scene. They
yeah,
changed it in a big way. And
yeah,
I say that because New York, if we're sticking to New York, that's really simple. New York is where the Latin Kings became a big organization. So what happened is, have you ever heard of how the Bloods got started at Rikers? Have you? You're doing the whole Killah B, internet going out thing.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
I can hear you, but I
Yeah,
thought you
no,
were.
I was actually muted. I was trying to let you.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
gonna run
Um,
out the back, but
I,
what I was going to ask you is what at what time, what year did like I said earlier, I noticed it more like in the early 2000s. Yeah, I think I said late 90s before, but it was more like the early 2000s. I remember hearing that, and I thought it was really rare that there was a blood, you know, here in New York City. Like it wasn't, it's not a normal thing like that.
what happened is I forget what year it was, but the Bloods got started at Rikers Island, and they didn't come up like a regular street gang.
Okay.
They came up as like an institutional.
Wait, did you say the not the blood gang, but like in New York City, it got started in Rikers, is what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. In New York, there was a bunch of black inmates who were at the mercy of other races.
Hmm.
So what happened is they kind of did a similar thing to the Latin Kings and other more organized gangs. Is
Right.
they took the name Blood from the West Coast and they applied it to an organization that took aspects from the West Coast gang, and they gave it to the prison gang.
Okay.
So what happened is instead of just being like what was in the West Coast, they kind of made themselves into a more organized thing so
Gotcha.
that they could compete with everyone else.
Well, where did it actually start? The West Coast.
Where did it start? It started because there were these. Have you ever heard of the Black Pea Stones?
Yeah, I don't know much
Yeah,
about
the Black Pea Stones were a gang that, along with some others, because like you've heard of Pyru Street.
it, of course.
Yeah, Pyru Street was a Crip gang, and
Okay.
what happened is they kind of got into conflict with the others in the other Crip sets.
Hmm.
So what they did is they went to other people that also had an issue with the Crips,
Right.
and under the guidance of the much older and more experienced Black Pea Stone Nation,
Hmm.
they created this new thing called the Blood Alliance.
Gotcha.
So that was like their attempt to finally, have an edge over the Crips who were everywhere.
Right. Right.
Crips are like a massive army that was just swallowing up whole areas because women.
The Bloods would call them crabs, and the Crips would call Bloods
That
sloth.
that kind of came later, but what was weird is the Pyro Street guys, they
Mhm.
used Burgundy even when they were running uh, as a
Hmm.
Crip organization.
Interesting.
So they were using that deep purple color.
I hate to cut you off again. Can we just put a pin on that right there? We're gonna get back to the Bloods and the Crips and the history of that in New York City and Rikers. Definitely. I hate not addressing certain things. Just real quick. Okay. YT says I mentioned Brownsville, so I know Brooklyn. What about the dirty? I'm sorry. What about how dirty the Hasidic Jews are? Oh shit! I mean, yo, there's so much racism towards Jews too. It's crazy, and how they leave their trash everywhere. I'll say this about Jews. They I don't know. Let me not even say anything like that. But what do you think is worse, Scary YT? Murder or littering? Homicides or littering? Because I don't really hear about Jews. It's not, and I'm sure it happens. I don't hear about Jews doing shit like drive-bys, stabbing people in the subway, shooting people, doing mass shootings. I don't really hear that. I'm sure it's happened. Homicides, Jewish people. Now, New York City stats, just from 2013, real quick. New York City homicide stats, violent crime stats, murders, pretty much. Let's do that one. 92 to 96% of the murders for like the last 5 years, from before 2019 up until 2013. So 2008 to 2013, it was about 92 to 95% of the shootings, the homicides, where the offenders, we know the race, 95% it was either a black or a Hispanic. That's how New York City, in the 5 boroughs, those are the stats there. There's about 55 or 60% of the city, maybe a little bit more. No, I think that's about right. Is black and Hispanic when you add it up. It's like 35% or 30% Hispanic and like 25% black, or maybe I got my numbers in reverse. But those are pretty much roundabout. But 95% of the murders in the city are done by blacks and Hispanics. I think black people do like 70% of it. So then Jewish people are not doing that much murders if you look at overall. So it doesn't seem like a big problem. If you're against littering, I get it. I don't know how true this is, that they're all, I know they get away with certain things. They have their own cops and police, and a lot of them were even able to go out, during the pandemic, I saw, because it's their own neighborhood. They don't vaccinate either. The measles came back in their community in New York City because, they don't even believe in this this whole damn virus that was happening. But, this is just, I hate this. Like, this is like scapegoating. We're talking about one thing and some issues in one community, and you want to bring another community into it as if it's such a big problem, man. But what about your community? Doesn't that affect you more? Why are you so worried about what Jews are doing? I'm sorry, Negi, man. Let's go back to this blood and Crips history, man. So we know that it started on the West Coast. I see more dominant culture. You see it even in the rap music. There's a whole different genre of hip hop, called West Coast. It's not the same. It's a whole different culture. New York City was more on the religious. You have Rakim, Nas, even Wu-Tang. They're a little crazy, but they'll talk about 5%ers. They'll talk about this stuff. I've heard about majority of this religious stuff listening to rappers like Wu-Tang and Nas, where they talk about Yakub. I've heard of this stuff.
Here's where it gets really dangerous. This is where it gets really bad. Because that's what puts those thoughts in your head. So you go and you start trying to find out. I want to know more about this. So, they'll put stuff in your head.
You want to know more about what?
It's like, no, I'm saying this is the person who's listening to that music.
Oh, right.
They're thinking, I want to know more about this. I want to know.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
So,
you're
here's a good example. You've heard of the Nawabians.
Oh yeah. What's the guy's name?
Yeah, Malachi Z. York.
There you go.
But the Nawabians were big into hip hop.
For sure. Yeah.
And also, his name gets thrown around a lot, but Africa Bambaataa.
Bambaataa. Not Africa Bambaataa, him?
Yeah, Bambaataa, yeah.
The child molester.
The Universal Zulu Nation is
Zulu Nation. There you go. I knew a Zulu guy.
And the funny thing is, they had rappers too. So it's like.
So what do you think about Zulu? I mean, I remember seeing a movie. It was the John Gotti movie, right? So John Gotti goes to jail. This is the movie where forget the guy who played him. Great actor. But Ahmad Asante, I believe his name is. Great actor. So he plays Gotti, right? And he goes to jail. And there's a Zulu guy in jail. So we're touching on the gang thing a little bit, but see how in New York City, it's not a blood, it's a Zulu guy, they're more on that religious stuff. They're like they're gods, they're like peace. They wear like the red, black, and green like beads. I've seen them do that. And they have power in the jail system. And Gotti made a deal with the head Zulu guy. And it was like a big thing. It was, like he got so much praise because he pretty much settled a beef between blacks and Italians. And it was like a big thing. He made a deal with this guy. I forgot exactly what it was. You can watch the movie or look it up. But that's another, there you go. Now you have things like the Zulu Nation. I don't hear a lot of like negativity. Like the few Zulu people I knew, they were all about, brotherly love. And, it was like, yeah, you find some of them that are hardcore and that'll,
Well, here's the problem. All that stuff was meant to prop up, Bambaata's what he did. You know what he did.
yeah, Hassan Campbell, I know that.
I mean, I'm not. He did a lot of. He hurt a lot of people. I don't.
It wasn't just Hassan Campbell. Yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised, if KRS-One knows something, because KRS-One was trying to kind of excuse it and say that African Bambaataa is hip hop, and like, you can't speak against him. He has a certain privilege because of who he is. So he can get away.
Let me give you. Let me give you the other side of that. He may be hip hop, but it's like you've heard of the guy that was big with the BBC, Jimmy Savile.
Oh yeah, I was watching this documentary. They just did it on Netflix.
Jimmy was the BBC. He was the BBC, big time. So
he was signing with royalty.
yeah. The man was knighted. He was so many things, and he even had the keys. This is what shocked me. He had the keys to one of the most secure mental hospitals in Britain, called Broadmoor.
Oh no, I haven't gotten that far in it.
There's a whole yeah. That might be a spoiler, but
no, I don't care. Go ahead.
Like for real, this man had access on a level we can't even begin to understand.
That was the major problem, is that he was trusted. People let their guard down because he was helping out. He was like, helping kids out. Kids were all happy on his show. He would make their dreams come true, right? He let them meet. He had a kid. It was like a sick kid who had a request to see his favorite, I forgot, baseball or football player. It was some celebrity or something.
Yeah.
Things like that.
What they call football is what we call soccer. It's
yeah, it was something like that.
He got to meet his favorite footballer. But the thing is, that man was a monster. He was a monster.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree.
I can't say what he did because out of respect for your channel.
Can I ask you just no, I know what he was doing. I mean, I don't know everything, but see, I heard about this. I'm a big fan of a guy named Norm Macdonald, who passed away, Canadian comedian. Which he spoke about this on his show. He had a British guy on, a British comedian, and that's how I found out about this, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, or maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And I looked into it briefly, and I was like, wow. And I think he died. All this stuff was discovered after he died.
Yeah, it was really a mess, because what happened is, when Jimmy Savile died, they put a giant tombstone over his grave.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the allegations came out, and it's like, I forget how long it took, but they went and they demolished that gravestone.
Yeah, I'm glad, because
so they tore it down because it was just something they didn't.
That's one of the ugliest things, like, on top of what he did. I understand why people can be very upset over it.
Yeah. And what he did is just so horrific. I can't even tell you.
Well, I mean, but not only what he did. I mean, I don't. It's worse, but just to add on top of it that he got away with it. It's like
he got away with it in this life, but I don't know I don't know where he is now, but I really don't.
Well, where I stand, but if I'm not discounting that there might be a way where after we die physically,
I understand
that we can, and there's not I might be a possibility, and hopefully for just, that's why a lot of people, sometimes I get thrown that, being an atheist, people say, well, what about a person like that? What's going to happen if you're just okay with him getting away with it? And it's like, it's not that I'm okay with it. I hope that he can get some type of justice.
I understand that, but I'm just saying it's messed up. I'd rather focus on, the man committed horrible crimes. And he was a monster. He was what I consider a demon in human form. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was discovered earlier. I'm sure there were people that were helping him and that were aware of certain things, and that's what, that's what makes it even more disgusting, is that he was able to get away with this type of stuff because of his status, it's just England. And
Okay, you want to hear about another case that took place in Belgium that was like where the person actually went to prison?
sure.
Have you heard of Marc Dutroux?
No.
He was a serial killer, and he went to trial, and all these things came out about what he was involved with, and he
Never.
was into some dark stuff. Like the man
You said this was where? Germany? What did you say?
in Belgium,
Belgium.
which is a French-speaking country. It's
Right.
part of the whole francophone part of the world, but
Yeah. I'm
it's,
familiar. It's not far from like well, it's not far from Germany and Austria and all that.
it's not too far away, but it's
I mean, it's
the whole Dutroux affair was like one of the most shocking and horrific trials of
wow.
that country's history. I
So
mean, the man was
but there was no justice, no trials, no nothing?
no, there was a trial, there was justice, but I think many of the people got away with it.
You ever heard of Samuel Little?
Yeah,
He's a mass murderer who's confessed to murdering at least 93 people, all women, and he was convicted in 2014 for a few of them that they were able to prove. But yeah, he's very talkative. He loves talking, very like easygoing, like very likable type of dude, you know. And he's gotten away with it for a long time because he was targeting prostitutes that, you know, people don't really care about, people don't look for, you know, like
yeah. There was a guy who he would confess to every kind of murder.
right.
Like he would confess to things he never did,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the police were giving him things every time he'd admit to a new crime.
Wow.
And
You
it's
see, you
crazy.
know why? It's like there's a psychological thing behind that it's like they kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
reliving the enjoyment of it.
I forget his name, but it's like he's synonymous with like false confessions.
False confess. Oh, that could, yeah. That's like what we were talking about with Jesse Smollett. Is like
Oh
sometimes
yeah.
like
Jesse's
attention.
you know that was a crazy case, Jesse Smollett, because he tightened the noose around his own neck like a necktie.
God. I mean, it's weird. It's like I don't know if he has that type of condition or if it's a psychological. If he wants the attention, it's like he's already a star. You know, like what was that for? To make him a bigger star? You know, why target? You know, why make it political and you know talk about MAGA? It was so many things behind that
Oh
you know,
yeah.
there's a lot of conspiracy theories behind that.
And you want to know what's so funny is the guys he hired were all Hispanics.
No, they were black. They were Nigerian. They were African. I don't know if they were Nigerian. They were
Oh,
African.
okay, yeah. But, all
In the
right.
set, he actually they were extras in the show Power or whatever show. What's the show that he's in? Power.
Empire. That's it.
Empire. Is Empire or Power?
It's Empire.
It's
It was
Empire. Right.
it
It's
was
the one.
definitely Empire. But yeah, that's funny. He picked the wrong kind of white supremacists.
Yeah. I mean, and also it's like that was Chicago. It was like a certain time of the day of the night, like 2 a.m. And then the temperature was like extremely like it was like a frozen tundra. It was like 2 degrees below that night. And then his story was that he went out to go to Subway, where you're a rich guy, you got a lot of money, you are in a hotel, you could get room service, or you can call Uber Eats, you can do anything but go out in the street.
Yeah.
And now you're saying that there were some white supremacists that knew. Did they know you were there? Why did they have? They had a rope ready, and they had whatever they threw on him. I forgot what they said they threw on him. That you know, it's like they had all this ready because you know it's like it doesn't make sense. And you know, it came out that it was a fake story. Like Sean King. You ever heard of Sean King?
Yeah. He's a fake black dude.
Yeah, he's like people don't even know he's really black because he never really knew his father.
And guess what his nickname is? It's like Talcum X.
Talcum X, yeah, I saw that.
Talcum X.
That dude that he has a show with Charlemagne the God, Andrew Schultz, I think. I heard him say that. Yeah, it's like listen, this guy is pretty much, we don't know what he is. Let's say he is part black, whatever. This is what I see as a problem, and I'm gonna get back into the race thing. Sorry, Negi, but there was pretty much a story, and this is all in line with the fake racism and victimhood, and just you know, and this is not just that it was a lie created because they want attention. It was weird the way it happened, but it was a shooting. It was, the girl's name was Jasmine Barnes, a little girl, 5 years old, I believe, got shot and killed in her car as her mother was driving randomly. And they said they had a description of the car mostly, but they were trying to get the description of the person, and they thought that the person was wearing a red hat. So there was like news media that kind of pushed the mother, who was already like in a bad situation, you know, like mentally, and they were kind of egging on. The way it was described by the family of the mother and the girl was that they kind of pushed it into this whole, yeah, say it's a white guy that did the shooting. And there was a mugshot that went out of a white guy supposedly with a red hat. And they found somebody that looked like this who was still being terrorized even after it was found out that it was two black teens, which they weren't teens, but they were like young black adults and young, you know, male, which is the usual, you know, out of all these offenders and homicides, this is a usual suspect. It's a certain age. It's not black women. It's like young black males between the age of 17. Sometimes they push it up to 19 and up to 29 or 30 and 30, even 31. I've seen that's where the majority of the murders are at. If 55% of the murders in this country are done by black people, I think a good 50% of that, or 45 maybe, is that demographic that I just told you of a young black male. It's not the women, really. They're doing it too, you know, more than other women, other races of women, but it's mostly coming from the young black male. So, and that's who the suspects were, really. It came out later. They had some video cameras somewhere else down the road, and then one of them confessed. And then, but before all of that, Sean King was popularizing it, posting it. They had a white guy, you know, Ava DuVernay, who's, you know, under Oprah Winfrey. She's the one that made When They See Us documentary, or not that wasn't a documentary, which people think it is. It's just a movie that used a lot of artistic liberty, was what they call it. When they don't know what happened in a certain situation, they just fill it in with you know, what they feel is artistic, you know. And it's like you know, if you ever heard about that, When They See Us, right? The Central Park 5, you know. But that's a whole nother thing. Ava DuVernay is another one, and she has that power through the media, through the cinema, where she can put this victimhood thing on the screen now. And it's like there's so much attention when it's possibly a white guy that killed a black person, especially a little girl. But then the attention just faded away when it was discovered that it was actually black people. And I was like, damn, where's all that energy? Where is all that energy that people just had when they thought it was a white guy? Why is it okay now? Because it was discovered that it was the typical issue, which is it was actually black people that did it. I don't know, man. Do you have anything to say on that? I think that's a weird thing. I think that's one of those exceptionalism things where it's like there's more outrage because of the dynamic of white on black. It's more of an outrage. It's like, how dare you? Racism, historic, you know, all this history is like it all comes up. And
yeah, I think it's retarded, because I think if I, you know, if I had a family member killed and they were killed by someone who looked like me, I would still be quite a bit angry.
Yeah, I mean,
I would be angry and howling for justice. I would be probably ready to do all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah, I mean, but there's like a media. There's more of an attention. It's like clickbait almost, because of the racial dynamic of it. Because it's a white on black, I see more of an outrage behind that. And I think that story, if you look it up, Jasmine Barnes, her story, sad story, and it deserves the attention. That's what makes it sad. It's like, this is still a little girl's life. Where did now Sean King all of a sudden doesn't care about the story?
Yeah, and that kind of stuff just makes me angry. So I try not to think about it. But
I mean, that's why I talk about it, and like, yeah, it's a little like, it pisses me off, and what pisses me off more is that there's not that attention. People don't see that, and it's almost like, oh, so what? You know, like I told you about my Muslim, you know, my friend who's a Muslim. I kept like showing him these type of things, and like, you know, he'll show me his side. He's still woke. He used to be a Hebrew Israelite. And we used to be woke as hell. I used to be woke as hell when I was a Hebrew Israelite. I started seeing a problem with that. And that was like part of the reason why I joined the Hebrew Israelite thing, is because there's a certain narrative out here that's pushed by corporate media, Hollywood, the liberals are, especially being in New York City, it's a very liberal city. And there's this thing where it's like, it's time we need to protect Black people. There's actually a hashtag, protect Black women, and this is like, we need to, it's like an urgent desperation. Like, we gotta stop all hate against Black people. And it's like, we want to stop all hate, period. It's not that easy. We're not just going to make it go away, which is not an excuse to downplay or to shame it. I want to shame all of it. And I'm seeing that it happens a lot. It's already happening and being overhyped when it's like a white on Black. So I started doing the opposite and started showing, okay, well, what about when it's a Black on white or Black on Black? Or how about the fact that it happens so like at a high rate, like murders within a certain type of community? And it's like, man, it's like, do you really care that Black people are dying, or did you just care that it's white people that are killing them, or cops? And I just find that strange. It's a little annoying when like I show it to friends and I'm like, don't you see this? And it's like they almost don't see it. It's like, no, well, it doesn't happen all the time, or it happens to white people too. White people get away with stuff too. And I'm like, I don't know if it's happening at the same rate as if it's happening, the way it's happening, right now to African Americans. I pulled out a story not too long ago in Davie, Florida, where it's an obvious murderer that was a would-be robber. He broke into somebody's house. It was and this guy's Black, which is important to the story, because he was pretty much discovered to be, he was found guilty of this crime, pretty much of robbing, attempted robbery, and murdering a woman that was in a house that he was trying to rob. He ended up killing her, and all the evidence is like overwhelming. Blood in his car, her blood in his car, murder weapon found on him, all of that stuff, DNA, and then fingerprints, everything matches. So he did it. Now the jury that wanted to convict him, there were three, according to the story, it was three people who I believe were people of color, but not necessarily. It could be, like I said, sometimes it's people with a certain political worldview, liberals, that they don't want to put more Black people in jail because they're Black, so it's like a miscarriage of justice, because you're not punishing people for what they've done. You're actually being soft because the person's Black. And I see this happen in Davie, Florida. There was a mistrial because they brought the charges down to manslaughter when it was a clear murder, and the reason why they did that is because they didn't want to give him so much time. He already did 5 years in jail before the trial even got started. So he was going to be let out in like 2 years or something if he got charged, if he was guilty of manslaughter. He was going to get like maybe 5 more years max or something like that. But I think that 7 years is the maximum, minimum 5 for manslaughter or something like that. So it was like, this is a miscarriage of justice. And it's now we're doing the opposite because of race, because they're Black. And it's like, this wouldn't be right no matter what race it is, but it's okay because it's a Black person and we don't want to see them in jail. I don't know, man. This topic, like, it's very touchy. I know it's like this racial stuff is taboo. This is the stuff I like to talk about on my channel: religion, politics, race, all this, and it's also very much out there in the media. But I see more that it's like, racism against Black people type things, so I just like to call it out, because I see some funny stuff and I don't want people to get away with doing something that's not right. I mean, you seen the story of this neighbor. It was a white neighbor being racist towards a Black neighbor in New Jersey, and it was videotaped. It went viral. He gave his address, and there was a whole mob of people that came to the address, like a whole group, mobs. They broke his windows. They protested. Now, the guy didn't get violent with him. He was a racist asshole and said all types of really racist stuff, and I think he was drunk. And the reaction to that was, okay, I understand it. I think it's a little bit of an overreaction because there was no violence done. There was words exchanged, which, I mean, I don't know if words, sometimes, I mean, if you threaten somebody, yes, you should be charged for something, and the cops actually arrested this guy. And when the cops brought him out, people threw all types of stuff. The cops got bombed, and it was like, okay, here's the reaction. That's a very like you're outraged by this guy's action, but like there's another story where I posted in my Asian hate video where there's a neighborhood, it's nothing but black people in Oakland, I believe it is, but there's a Asian guy with cans being like just like bullied, and people are being racist towards him. He got his cans taken away, and this is a big group of black people doing that to an Asian guy. Now, that situation, if you reverse the races, and it's a bunch of white people or a bunch of Asians on an older black guy with cans who's homeless trying to collect cans, I think, from the neighbors. I don't know what it was exactly, but like they were saying all types of stuff. The guy was crying. It was a crazy situation. The reaction to that, there was no reaction, like at least not towards the neighborhood where people came and started going crazy and stuff like that. Like what I saw with the New Jersey incidents when it was a white on black. When it's black on white or black on anybody, it's almost like, okay, nobody goes. It's not equivalent to the outrage that you see when it's white on black. And those two stories, I contrast them because it's like so obvious that there's a more of an outrage. It's an emotional cry. It's like, I'm tired. The history behind it all comes up, and I get that part of it. It's fucked up what's happened to in history to African Americans. It's like, it's fucked up. But Hebrew Israelites and a lot of this woke stuff, they like to go back in time and talk about this stuff a lot to shame white people and white people today. So when you see any twinkle or resemblance of the past today, people go nuts. I understand it, but I still like to call out the double standard and in these things, because I just want people to notice that it's not it's not like there's so much oppression just towards black people. It's like it gets done on both sides, and it's like it almost gets excused because the suspect, the one that's doing the crime, is a black person. I don't know, but this topic is very touchy. I know you said you're not that well informed with all these type of things. I look into this type of stuff. I think it's interesting. The case with Jasmine Barnes, I think, is one of those things that it's a clear indication of people's reaction to certain things depending on the race. I think I like bringing that type of stuff out, Negi. I don't know. I think it's just interesting. But I do get a lot of heat, especially my comment section from friends. They think I'm singling out and demonizing black people because I want to focus on these things. I mean, it's problematic. So I don't know. My channel started with Hebrew Israelites, black Hebrew Israelites, exposing them, and I still do that. But there's more things going on in the black community, man. Black Hebrew Israelite is definitely a problem, though, man.
Oh yeah, my channel started off talking about cults, but
Yeah.
the funny thing is I expanded it into other things. So
Yeah, you have to after a while, right?
And yeah, you do, but
you learn more over time.
I'm actually getting kind of tired, but
yeah,
I'm gonna call it a night. But
for sure, man, for sure.
yeah, I do want to talk to you about other stuff, but it's like I know 3 hours. We're almost pushing the 3 hour mark.
Oh yeah, we're pushing it. I'm gonna stay on. I mean, the conversation is going pretty cool.
I mean, I can stay on a little more, but
yeah.
There's things.
I mean, yeah, we'll just do like 10 more minutes because I do want to ask you a few things.
Okay, all right.
I did way too much talking, man.
Yeah, 10. Yeah, but ask away. Go ahead.
Yeah, my bad, man. I I get into it, but yeah, I want you to do some talking before you go, just so you can get some stuff out. So when you started your channel, you were already out of the group, or would you started when you were?
I started it when I was in the group, but I didn't upload videos really because I was doing work for for Judah.
Yeah. Oh, got you. Okay. So
I was like, I could have been building something and actually had something by now.
Got you. Yeah, definitely. It takes so much of your time. That's part of it too. The time consumption. And I just want to correct something from last time we spoke. I just noticed because about the bite model, by Steve Hassan. on how you can
Uh,
identify a cult by
yeah,
different.
yeah. There's markers of a cult. Yeah.
Right. So I actually gave an incorrect one on the T, right? BITE, behavioral control, information control, and I said time control with the T. It's actually thought control. Time control falls under the behavioral control. So thought control is separate on its own. It's amazing. And then there's emotional control at the end on the E. So I just wanted to correct that. But did you ever come across Steve Hassan? He was with the Moonies.
No, but the Moonies were like they were like a Korean cult, but
Yeah.
there's been so many more interesting and weird Korean cults. Like some of them have even become close to some of the presidents.
For real? Get the hell
Like
out.
there was one president who there was a whole scandal about it because a ferry sank, and the cult was tied to the sinking of the ferry.
Oh snap!
And then also like the if you want to look it up in Korea, it was called the Salvation Sect, and they were the ones that were tied to that ferry sinking. But it gets worse because that whole cult was also sucking money out of people.
Oh yeah, there were. I mean, there were some stars. I think there were some celebrities that joined it. I forgot who. Dionne Warwick.
So yeah, there was also a president, not the same one, but a different president of South Korea that
Mhm.
was influenced by a shamanistic cult.
Wow.
Like they had her ear and would advise her on issues of national security and
Hmm.
are privy to certain issues, like certain things that weren't meant to be public.
Wow.
So it's kind of weird. South Korea has a history of weird cults.
Yeah, I mean, and did you? Well, this one I think was somewhere in India, which is still Asia. But did you see there was like a documentary done in Netflix, I believe, with it was like a sex cult or something that went to Portland, or
I know I already know what you're talking about.
yeah,
There was the guy that called himself
I don't even
the
know.
word they use for God, Bhagawan Sri Rajneesh.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah,
The documentary that I'm thinking of was called Wild Wild Country.
yeah. There you go. That's it. That's it.
That was Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, and he
Yes.
committed that famous terrorist attack of using biological weapons.
Yeah.
They dumped like certain disease on a salad bar.
Yeah. They that's crazy. They poisoned the water.
So they took over a town. No, they poisoned the salad bar,
Yeah,
but they also
pretty
took
much.
over the
Yeah.
town. Crazy
Yeah.
stuff.
They infiltrated the police department. They infiltrated the police department and everything. And
I,
the political.
I have talked about them under the whole Hindu cult thing, but
Yeah, I wanted to talk about them more, but yeah, man. I mean, once you once you started learning, these things, and you started going, on with your channel on different topics, outside of the Hebrew Israelites. What was like one of the first things you wanted to do a video, or you did a video about that it wasn't really related to Hebrew Israelites or Torahnites or this guy Judah, but maybe you felt like it needed to be spoken. Did you ever go that start?
there was a lot of things, and early on, I wanted to have a channel that was built by the community. I
Yeah.
didn't want to have a channel that just reflected what I wanted to talk about.
Right.
I decided I was going to give my viewers the choice. Like, what do you want to see?
Okay, gotcha.
So from my perspective, that was a radical thing. I was giving my viewers, a lot of power.
Yeah, it was. I thought about doing it's kind of like you're doing a little survey on what do you think I should go? Because like once, I mean, I was already doing videos on like GMS and different Hebrew Israelite cults, while Tazadakia, the cult leader of my former cult, ICGJC, after he died, I was like, okay, well, that was the main thing, the main part of my channel. And I could do a few more videos because there was a lot of stuff still coming out. But I was like, this thing is dead pretty much. I got to find other things to talk about. And then I started, going into other things other than the Hebrew Israelites. But, that's why I was asking, because it's like, you know, there's so many things you can get into once you start learning about how cults operate, and you know, like you
Yeah.
said, got into learning how gangs operate, and
And what's so crazy is I was making videos about things that had nothing to do with Hebrew Israelites, but they were manipulative cults. Like, for example, in China, there
Mhm.
was a movement created by a guy who was a failed civil service, examinee. He was taking the test. He took it like 3 times and failed every time.
Wow,
So what's weird is this guy went on to found a big cult movement that actually went to war with the state.
wow,
He went to war with the government and almost, he could have been a real threat.
right.
Because the reason he was defeated is because Western powers got involved.
Mm, check that.
So his name is Hong Xiu Chuan, and he dreamed that he went to heaven, and he dreamed that his brother was Jesus Christ, and he also, thought he had a mission to destroy all the other religions of China.
Interesting.
And it's crazy because this is all because he failed the civil service examination for the third time.
Uh,
Like when that happened, he almost died
wow,
because his dream was like just so weird. It was like a near death experience.
that's crazy. Yeah,
But
but
yeah, he was, a weirdo, but
right. I mean, these guys that get into these positions, I don't know. It's probably over time, things get to their head, and they get this form of like superiority and narcissism, and
yeah,
it's
and
yeah,
what happened in his case is that they were actually missionaries in China who were giving these Confucian wannabe officials or intellectuals. They were
right.
giving them tracts or translated gospel books.
Hmm.
So what was happening is he would read them probably not real attentively, so that stuff was getting into his head.
Yeah, and some of these guys, even if they, because you know, you can have a cult leader that doesn't even really believe in the stuff that he's saying. He's doing it for the money and attention and power and all of that, you know. But even in that case, you know, that you can still have those, you know, that power and just adoration really get to your head, and it just turns you into a type of person over time that you have too much control now, too much power. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. You ever heard that
Oh
quote?
yeah, yeah. That's one of the things that I try to hammer home on my channel. But
Yeah.
as much fun as I'm having, I definitely do want to get some sleep. So
No, no sleep for the wicked.
I'm gonna no sleep for the wicked. But I'm gonna go live on my channel the next time I
Yes.
get the chance, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna talk about some stuff. So if you want to jump
Yeah.
on, feel free.
Sounds good. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Send me, you know, hit me up when you're gonna go, like before.
I'll hit you up just like you hit me up. So
For
yeah,
sure.
take
Yeah,
care,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, I appreciate having you on. You're the man, bro. I
Yeah, no,
appreciate
no
it.
problem. You're welcome. Have a good night.
Have a good one. We'll talk soon. All right. We are done with that. Now, I want to still keep going. I'm trying to get a link, you know, up here. Let me see if I could do my phone because my computer is bugging out. If somebody wants to come on, I don't know who's still on at this time. It's 12:28. We got a few people. Savan, sorry I didn't address you earlier, but you said I'm glad you talk about this stuff because very few people do online. Yeah, man. Listen, this is why I talk about it. It's because there's such little attention on it. You know, I'm sometimes I might say nobody talks about this type of stuff, or nobody's seeing this, or nobody's that, and it's a little bit of overgeneralization. You know, there are people, but there's very few people, like you said. So that's the problem. There's a lot of attention on, for example, the story that I mentioned about the guy in New Jersey, the racist guy, the racist white guy who didn't put his hands on anybody. Doesn't mean it's okay. He was wrong, but you do have the liberty in this country to say pretty much whatever the hell you want to say. You can be an idiot, you can be a racist, you can do certain things to a certain point. There's a saying that, you know, your freedom to swing your arm ends at my nose. So, you know, you have certain freedoms out here, but you have certain limitations. You can't do just whatever you want. You can't even say whatever you want, but you can say a lot. And at least how I feel personally, in my opinion, you should be able to say, you know, a lot of things out there. There's very few things that you can get tried for, I think, that you should be charged for. You know, you know, these murderous threats, obviously. You know, this racial intimidation, if it gets to a certain level, then yes, definitely I agree with it. You know, especially when it's a person like your neighbor. So I can kind of see, you know, why the person was arrested in Jersey, the white guy. But what I wanted to point out was the outrage and the polarity, the difference in the outrage for that than you see with outrage for other cases where it's maybe a black racist against a white or Asian or you know, these different things. You know, everybody's talking about white racists. You know, I can talk about that on my channel. I do talk about it. When I do my editing in my videos, I tend to focus on certain things that I think should be called out. And but yeah, man, I'm over here looking at the comment section to see what y'all talking about. You know, 1141, 1227. Okay, this is the most recent one. I think many of these leaders, this is Savan talking, commenting. He says, I think many of these leaders, quotation marks, mainly feel powerless in their lives and want to feel important. Wow, that's crazy that you said that, because I think that that was one of the cases. I think that that was part of the case with Tazadakia, you know, and even joining these certain groups is people that want to feel a sense of community, right? Savan, if you're still there, just, you know, acknowledge that you agree or whatever. You know, you can come out, you can say what you want. I'm trying to get the link on here. You don't have to come on, but it's certain issues. It doesn't let me copy and paste the link. It's pissing me off. But that's why I want to get on my phone. But you know, I like to point these things out. You know, not that many. There's not a lot of content like that, and a lot of that content is being banned or shadow banned or just suspended from YouTube and Twitter. You know, like there's a certain narrative that you just people don't want to hear, and it's getting silenced. I've gotten strikes on my channel for things that I've seen other people post that are not news networks, and they're able to get away with it. And it's usually violence. And when I talk about violence from Black people, it's like, oh, we gotta flag this. This doesn't look good for us, because it's like people just assume that, oh, you just hate Black people and you want to put the spotlight. Like, stop just assuming dumb shit. There's other reasons why people might be focusing on this. Why don't you consider those reasons? Like, you want to jump to the immediate thing that comes in your brain because you want to assume people are evil and racist and all this dumb shit. And it's like, you know, I don't know, man. I just want to see if, yeah, he's here. So I got somebody on here. I want to know Scary White T's still on here. I don't mind people disagreeing with me, you know, because I like to give my point of view, and sometimes people have a misunderstanding, you know. And your comment says a lot here. I know this was like over 30 minutes ago, 45 minutes ago, so you might not be on. But check this out, man. You mentioned Brownsville, so you know Brooklyn. What about how dirty the Hasidic Jews are? So this could be a flag comment right here, a racist comment. I mean, think about people talking about how dirty, you know, fill in any other race in there, or a Black race. It's like, you know, coming from a white person. It's like you're gonna assume this person is just racist right away, obviously, because they might be. And I'm sorry, you seem a little racist according to this comment. How dirty the Hasidic Jews are. I don't know how true that is, man. I don't know if that's an overgeneralization of how, you know, real that is. But there's a lot I could say about Hasidic Jews. Okay. And I'll say some of it right now. I mean, like I said it before, they get away with certain things because of their neighborhood and how they operate and their, you know, tribalism. I mean, this is where, you know, they get their beliefs from, you know, the Torah. It's similar to what Hebrew Israelites do. This very nationalistic type stuff, you know, tribal. It's about us. Jews are better. We're the chosen people. That's how they look at it. They believe that they're chosen, right? And that tends to do something to a person psychologically. Just like I was just saying right now with Negi about a cult leader, gets to their head when they start, you know, thinking that, oh, you know, I got all this power. Yeah, God's dealing with me, and people appreciate and love me, and you know, they want my advice. It's like that might start getting to, you know, to your head. You got to humble yourself in that situation. I mean, like that's, you know, I mean, there's you know, like I like to think I know a little bit myself, you know, and I don't want it to get to my head, and you know, I try to listen to other people's opinions. If I've done a bunch of research on a certain topic that somebody wants to tell me about, as if I, you know, don't know, I'm gonna say what I believe and what I know, you know. So I'm gonna try to, you know, also speak and get my point across, you know, like I was talking about flat Earth recently, just to throw that out. And do you understand how much time I've put into listening to flat earthers, watching content? I even went on a Discord chat group with a bunch of flat earthers where I was able to ask questions. I asked one question, you know, but it was like I can tell the environment of the group. This is not the place where you come and start disagreeing, which was not my point. But I did want to ask some difficult questions, you know, and I have those. I do have a lot of difficult questions for people that believe in a flat Earth, you know. So you know, like I don't want to hear, like I'm at the point where I don't need to hear anything else from flat Earth. I've heard it all. Once they start doing what they're supposed to do the research, do the experiments, show me the math, get a map that has some type of distance where you can measure, you know, because their map is crazy. It's like, how did you get that map? How did you get to that, you know, you know, understanding of how the world, you know, the Earth looks, and where Antarctica is, and all this different stuff? It's like, how do you know that? And what's the distance between these places? How big is the Earth? Because not only do they say that the Earth is flat and stationary, they say that it's smaller. Some continents are smaller than what our maps are. You know, we know the map, what we'd have today. That, you know, as we know it, like it's smaller than what we say. And it's like, who's putting out all these lies and perpetuating all these lies and continuing it for a long time? It's like, it doesn't make sense just for that reason alone. It's like it's people that can't keep lies going for so long, and so many people have to be involved that it just makes it impossible. But how long were you in Black Hebrew Israelism? Man, I've narrowed it down to 6 years and like nine or 10 months to be exact. Right now, I'm counting that from the time when I first heard it, which was around August of 2004. 2004. August of 2004, maybe July. I'm thinking August. It was definitely before what's known as the Day of Atonement, which is also known as Yom Kippur. You know, more commonly known as Yom Kippur, Savan. So that's usually September. I was already in there learning for a while. I'm thinking it could have been July, because there was also a hurricane that hit around that time in Florida. You can go through the history of the hurricanes. There was a hurricane, I believe it was Hurricane Andrew. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but it was definitely, you know, that time of the hurricanes. And there was a teacher in Miami who's actually out of the church now, named Isaiah Nathan. Isaiah was also part, or is also part of what's called the Injustice League. He was out in Miami. He was the first, like one of the first teachers in Florida. We didn't have any teachers in Orlando at the moment. So he kind of was setting things up, and I was listening to class over the phone. The classes were being done in Miami, and they had their church. We didn't have a building in Orlando, so we were listening from different places. Sometimes we would get together and listen from the same place on a speakerphone, and it was just horrible. The sound, it was not easy at all, but I was really motivated at the time. So that was my first class, was right around the Day of Atonement. But I was already, you know, where we actually get together because it's a high holy day. So that's the first time I got together with a group of people, with the group. I was probably already listening and learning for about a month, because my cousin was listening and learning for more than 3 4, you know, for a while. Very dedicated, and she was learning a lot. She was able to answer some of my questions, you know. So yeah, this was July or August of 2004. And then my last class was December of 2010. It was Hanukkah of 2010. And this is a time when I was put out. I was getting already disenchanted. So wait, Did I add that up? I added it up wrong. Not 6 years and 9 months. 6 years and like 3 months. Then that's the case, right? 6 years and 4 months I was in there. So yeah, I got to get that right. Yeah, so December of 2010, that's 6 years and 3 or 4 months pretty much. And that's how long I was in there. But that's how long I was physically in the group known as the ICGJC. Now you can add on, which I do, add on an extra 5 years, 4 or 5 years up until 2015, because December 2010 is the year's almost over. So 2011, I was out. I was put out because I missed 4 Sabbaths in a row. That's 4 Saturdays. I went to classes in between those Sabbath days, but I think that was a discrepancy in my suspension. I think it was a wrongful suspension in the first place. I didn't care. I actually enjoyed it because I had a lot of responsibility as a captain of 13,000 and at one of the highest ranks at that moment when I was put out. I had the highest rank along with 2 other brothers just a year before I was put out. For about like a year and a half, I was doing a lot of work. So I was already getting disenchanted. I think one of those Sabbath days I kind of just didn't want to go, but there were issues happening at that time, which was another thing. It was like personal stuff with my wife's pregnancy. It was a hard pregnancy at that time, and this was my second child. I already had a child, and I deal with a lot. To have all the stuff I dealt with, because the cult takes a lot of your time, I was like not feeling it, but I believed in the doctrine. I just didn't like the group. So Hebrew Israelism, I would say more than I got to stretch it because ICGJC specifically was 6 years and 4 months. Now you add on an extra 5 years, so 11 years, man. I thought I was a Hebrew Israelite, So that's a long-winded answer to your question, man. You got another one. Was there a specific reason why you decided to leave, or was it a lot of things building up? Okay, so I didn't even see it, but I did touch on it. Yeah, it was a lot of things building up, man. It was mainly the time control, time consumption, and just the no, it was no care. It was no like consideration for the people that were being pushed to do these things, like by a chief priest that was sent out here from New York City, Chief Priest Yashar. If you ever heard of him, he's a hated individual in Florida and Orlando by former members and even current members. He's obnoxious, loud, just a very, very annoying and hard to deal with individual. And he was our head in Orlando, our leader. So the type of things he would do was use brothers that had cars and then have them take him to go see where he can rent out, an apartment and go look for housing, because he didn't have an apartment and he never got one. He ended up crashing with a brother that ended up leaving. And a lot of, most of the reason why he left and became disenchanted too was because Chief Priest Yashar taking advantage of his apartment and his, kindness and giving him a ride everywhere. Like these men don't get paid by the church. They don't get funded. They got to come up with their own money. So you got to relocate to teach a certain city. and then these men are just so obnoxious that they send. Well, at least Yashar was. So yeah, Savannah, it was a buildup. It was over the course of maybe 2-3 years. I also had a brother of mine that passed away during this time in 2009, before I was put out. And that kind of made me see a lot of things, because they didn't even want me to go to the funeral, and I was not having it, and I was allowed, but because you had to get what's known as travel papers in order to leave the city that you have duties in. And I had duties in Orlando. I had responsibilities in Orlando, and so you get travel papers that need to be approved by headquarters in Harlem, the Apostles, and then you have the you can travel. And you have to know the time, how long you're going to be away, what are you going to, what the reason why, and that makes you unclean also if you go to a funeral. So, they don't like that, because now you can't even come to classes or to any activities involving the church for 7 days, because you've been around a dead body. That's a law in the Old Testament. I forget what scripture, Leviticus. So That was that was part of it. Yeah, I don't think I ever brought that up. The travel papers thing is an interesting dynamic to a cult, right? To touch on the time control and behavior control. That's the B in the bite model. Bite, behavior control, right there. The first thing. You can't leave the state. If you're leaving the state, if you are a truck driver, you have to like let them know. I don't know if you need travel papers in that situation. That'd be good. That'd be an interesting conversation to have with a former Hebrew Israelite truck driver who's an atheist now. My friend William Kreider, Combat Conversations on YouTube. If you want to find his YouTube channel, he's not very active on there actually, man. So I'm just putting that out there just so you know who it is. But I've had him on my channel before. I did a live with him. He's the black atheist, and that's my guy right there. We don't agree on a lot of things, but I love talking to him, going back and forth, because he's very polite. He's not disrespectful, and we agree on so many other things that I'm not just gonna let some disagreement on certain issues, get in the way of that. I see that it's usually the other side, the liberal side, and that side of the social justice, that they're more intolerable than the other side that doesn't agree with them. They don't tolerate that, and now you can't be friends with them. I don't care. But I mean, I get it. I get it. Like sometimes people are all about that type of stuff. So it's like, if you don't agree with that, it's like you don't agree with me. This is my life, and it's like, man, forget it. Yeah, the travel papers thing, though, man. Like, like I said, behavior control. Which is part of time control. Which time control falls under that umbrella of behavior control. No sex on the Sabbath. No courting. No relationships without courting a sister and going through the heads. Like, you had to go through the apostles and you had to put in papers for courtship, just like you had to put in, a request for courtship, just like you put in a request to travel, the travel papers. Well, you put in a request to travel, and then they give you travel papers, especially if you need to go to a church in another city or another state. I mean, then you definitely need travel papers to get from one church to the next. But I don't. You know what? Now I take it back. I don't think I needed travel papers just to leave and go to the funeral, because I didn't have to go to the church in Harlem. I was going to be unclean anyway, so I wasn't able to go. But if I didn't have to go to something like a funeral, they probably wouldn't have let me leave the state. But if I did have to leave the state for some reason, and I was in another state with another church, I could not go to that other church without travel papers. And if I needed to go to another state for a different reason, and it's the Sabbath, I'm ordered to go, so I would have to go. So I need travel papers if I travel to another state, if I'm not going to be unclean, and if it's not related to something like that. So I my bad. I didn't get travel papers just to leave the state. You needed travel papers to leave the state and go to another church, and you have to have the official papers printed out with the logo of the ICGJC and a signature that's not a printed signature, an official inked signature from the chief priest of that city or the head of that church, and they verify it still. Like, you could just call somebody, man. You need all these papers and make it so official. It's amazing what Tazadakia did to try to make the cult look really official and all of that. Did your other family members say anything to you when you joined them? Oh yeah, man. Listen, I was talking about this earlier a little bit with a friend of mine who was in ICJC, who came on this channel before. I've had him on my lives, and I was going to do a video with him, which the title of the video is going to be From Hebrew Israelite to Muslim. Now, he became a Muslim and he joined this thing before he learned everything, which is the problem. That's the problem. That was the problem in the first place, at least with me. I joined and I was so gung-ho about this stuff. My family members were coming at me with all types of stuff. I distinctly remember in late 04, so I was probably already in like 3 months, and it was probably like December. No, you know what? It was a graduation around that time, so it was actually like May. So it had to be like 2005. I was just getting started. So I've been in there now learning for maybe 7 months or so. I knew some things. I knew Romans chapter 9, Revelation chapter 1, the color of Christ, the color scriptures, Deuteronomy 28, slavery, transatlantic slavery, and a few other things. But I wasn't so well seasoned. But I already decided to join the cult. So now it's a problem that you have a confirmation that this is the truth. Even if I don't know every aspect of the truth, it's the truth no matter what. And I have to accept it because it's a package deal now. It's like you have to learn all this stuff. My friend that became a Muslim, man, that joined Islam, it's like I asked him questions about Islam and he said he hasn't gotten that far and he doesn't know. And I'm just like, why? Why would you not know, but you call yourself a Muslim? These are important questions. The testimony of a man versus a woman. The crazy story of Muhammad going to the moon on a winged horse and splitting the moon in half. You know, it's like that's what the story says. The scriptures on murdering or killing infidels. The history of Muhammad being a warlord and fighting, you know, just going to war unnecessarily. They try to make it seem like it's so peaceful. We're all about peace. No, man. Jihad is war, literally going to war, not just a spiritual struggle and battle. It's literally a war against people that don't believe what you believe. So, you join something like that, and then you don't know those things about it. It's like now you're forced to agree with it, even if it's wrong, because it's too late. Now you're damn all in it now. So this is what I was going through. A family member of mine. So I was 7 months in. This is my aunt, very liberal. She had a boyfriend from Syria, and he would tell me, he's like, I'm really a Hebrew. He said, I am a descendant of these people that you claim are, blacks and Hispanics are descendants of. And he wasn't not trying to knock me. He was just saying, I am one of these people. And he said that there's a lot of things that can't be proven. He told me Moses was giving laws, and he said, but who else saw what Moses saw? Because Moses came back and said that God gave him these tablets, these stones, and these commandments. He's like, but did anybody else see it? Did anybody else see God give it to him? And it was a good question. It was a good, and he also said that the Torah, the first 5 books, speaks about, because he asked me who wrote it. I said Moses. I knew that, or I thought that, I believed that. And then he said, well, in those scriptures, you read it, and it says that God spoke to Moses. So Moses is writing that God spoke to Moses instead of writing God spoke to me and I saw his face. And, like you're affirming now, you're saying like, this is true. God spoke to me, but he's not talking like that. He's saying supposedly it's not Moses. That's the problem. Moses didn't write this, but it says God spoke to Moses. And people that believe in the Bible believe that Moses wrote these books, but it doesn't make sense. And also describes Moses' death, so I had those things that people in my family were saying to me, but what I would combat some of this stuff with, I couldn't do nothing with that guy from Syria, by the way. And then my aunt, her his girlfriend, pretty much, who was my aunt, was very emotional, and she kind of got a little loud, and it was too much. Like I couldn't deal with it. I was like, all right, like I didn't want to even deal with her because she was talking about hate and all that. She was talking about the hate behind it, and she didn't like that. And at the moment, I was just like, what I know is that the Bible talks about it, and I didn't care about feelings. I cared about the so-called facts, and that's the problem, though, Savant. It's like Black Hebrew Israelites have an upper hand in certain cases on Christians, especially a Christian which is not really learned, and they don't know the Bible like that. Because I mean, even if you do a little bit, even if you go to the church, the type of scriptures that you hear constantly about Jesus Christ, especially, are all nice, fluffy scriptures. Scriptures that don't talk about Jesus Christ being violent, which he was. He lost his temper. He flipped the tables, right, with the change when they were selling in God's, in the temple, they were selling something. And Jesus Christ was upset, and you can't do that in my Father's house. And then he also says in Luke chapter 19, verse 27, which is contrary to love your enemies. Because when we would talk about all the hate, we would talk about how much we hated, Esau and the white man. Christians would say, but you got to love your enemies. And then we would go to Luke chapter 19 and 27, where Jesus said, those mine enemies that would not, that I reign over them, bring them hither and slay them before me. So 2 different sides of Jesus Christ now. You have Jesus Christ talking about enemies. love your enemies, bring them here and kill your enemies. This is a schizo Jesus now. You know, this is the problem. And that now I see the real problem is that this was written by different people trying to get a different message across, you know, so there were different books. There's Luke, there's Matthew, you know, and some of them are like Matthew is supposed to give a more Jewish feel and historic thing and, you know, what do you call fulfillment of prophetic things in the Old Testament to make him more Jewish. Now, you know, that was the problem. As an Hebrew Israelite, I would try to reason or explain it and say, oh well, love your enemies. It's just talking about your enemies of your people. You see what they do? Love your enemies. Jesus said that he's talking about Hebrew Israelites, your enemies of your own people. When it says bring your enemies here, well, what's that talking about? If it's talking about everybody, well, that's talking about the other nations, your enemies. That's how they do that. And they'll even say these are your enemies that don't, even Israelites that don't want Jesus. They are going to die too, they'll say. So that was the upper hand that I had. So I had that in my arsenal. I knew that those were big scriptures. And the first scripture that I memorized was Romans chapter 9, verse 13. So that was a bomb because I catch Christians off guard, you know. But yeah, I had an aunt. I have a very, very religious aunt in Queens who's a Catholic, big time Catholic, man, die hard, you know. So and she's really nice though. Like she didn't really come at me too confrontational. She knows how to talk to somebody very, you know, calmly and just try to be understanding and just try to show the good side of the Bible and all of that. But I would bring this stuff up and she would just, you know, talk about other things. She know how to, you know, use another script, jump to another scripture real quick. But yeah, man, it's getting a little late. I think I'm gonna probably call it a night in a minute. But yes, Savannah, I appreciate, you know, your subscription, you know, your viewership. If y'all want to contact me on my email address, I wish I could type it out, but they're not gonna let me type it. Actually, you know what? Let me get on my phone and just put a few things. I'm gonna get on my other channel and just go on my live. Let me see where it's at. And yeah, man, just I'll put this right here in the comment section if y'all can see. If y'all are watching this after the live, you got to turn on the live chat commenting so you can see it. But if y'all want to email me, if y'all want to come on here, Savon, you're always invited. I appreciate, you know, your viewership. Like I said, you can email me and let me know if you want to come on my live. I like my viewers. I like bringing them on. So it's sanmiguelpana@gmail.com. I just messaged it and put it in the chat. And then on Instagram, you can find me at sanmig_. Boom. That's my IG. I'm active on there. And then if you go on Facebook, you can just look me up under San Miguel TV. I have a channel page. I have my own page for my, you know, like I don't really go on there much and then post too much. But I mean, I've been doing it recently. And because I have the channel page too, I'll definitely post it on there. But I'm very active on Instagram and I do check my emails constantly. So if y'all want to contact me on there, if you ever want to talk on the phone or on Facebook Messenger or on any of these apps where we don't even have to give, you know, exchange phone numbers, I like doing that too. Like I said, I want to give people the opportunity to come on here, whether you agree with me or not. So this goes for everybody. Scary White Sea Streets, thank you for coming on. Truth Seeker, thank you for coming on. Good comments. I mean, we know we don't always agree. John Stewart Mill, thank you for coming on. Everybody that was in the comment section, thank you for your, you know, your comments. I appreciate it, whether you agree with me or not. You know, as long as you don't insult me or threaten me. Negi, of course, you know, I got to thank the guests. Negi Springfield, you know, I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, have a good night, Savon. Yeah, we need more people that just do certain things that I'm doing, you know, at least, you know, that call certain things out. You know, I understand that people have their own lives and it takes a lot, you know, it takes a lot of time to focus and find things and find issues and get it together and put it and compile it in video style. But yeah, I like doing lives, but I really, really enjoy doing videos, exposing these type of things. And you know, I'm gonna keep doing it. But yeah, Negi Springfield, appreciate you. Killah B, the Witchfinder General. Both of these guys have YouTube channels. I'm gonna get it in my description in a minute. I just gotta wait for this to upload, and then I'm gonna update all of that. You know, you can check that in a minute. And yeah, there you go, guys. You know, San Miguel TV signing off. Peace out, y'all.